Oh, hey everybody, and welcome to the Pylon Show. I'm going to see about getting that graphic fixed where it says Artosis as host and Jeff and Control Robinson as occasional guest. This week, we are doing a quote-unquote big episode for a preview of WCS Austin. I have back here, once again, a couple of old guests. How you doing, Feardragon?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm in my hotel room, and we have like the most awesome internet ever. Pretty great.
Is it really?
Yeah, I've been watching like multiple streams in 1080p, and it hasn't flinched a bit, which is really unusual for hotel internet.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, you are right now in Austin, so really thank you so much for joining us there. And going to be great to have your viewpoints as the obscure NA pro gamers are your specialty. Of course, we also have NoRegreT back. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right. And Semper, first-time guest. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I've been preparing for Austin, and I'm flying out this next morning at 6 in the morning. It's going to be fun. And we won't keep you too long. I know you have to go in about an hour and 15 minutes or so that you can actually get a little bit of sleep. We don't want to ruin your stuff. We're going to get into the WCS Austin stuff really, really quickly. First, I do want to just mention we are sponsored by Matcherino, so definitely check them out. The code this week for the $1 free donation is Turtle Toss, capital T's, so definitely do that. And we have a bunch of new t-shirts, so you can check that out. And, of course, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/ThePylonShow, as well as our new website, ThePylonShow.com. But jumping beyond that, let's quickly go through this week in StarCraft. All right, Olimo League, number 123 just occurred. Deer took down Innovation in the finals. And to just double underline that this was a hard tournament, the tournament also had Stats, Gumiho, Patience, Cure, Alive, Impact Creator, Rogue, and MMA. So pretty damn legit, and we'll be talking about Code S later and Deer's form, but it seems like he's really good, even though his games are looking messy. So that was casted by Base Trade TV. Of course, the next one's going to be on June 12th. You can always check out their Patreon at patreon.com/Olimoly. For $2, you get all the replays each week, and that's pretty insane. I think that's basically the best deal on the entire internet. StarCraft 2 might be free, and this is as close to free as you can get for the best replays, literally, that you can get. All right. Also this week in StarCraft, Have At You number 15 finished up. This is Shamtu's bi-weekly Brood War tournament. He was casted with Zombie Grub this week. Larva actually played. Of course, he's one of the best Zergs in the world from Korea. He was goofing a little bit, though. He used Protoss against Terror, the Peruvian Terran player, in the round of 4 in a very lag-filled game, and he tried to proxy gate. That didn't work out. And overall in that best of 3, Terror actually took down Larva 2-1. The best part of which is that apparently Larva made a PayPal because he just assumed he would win the tournament, but he didn't.
Wow. Are you allowed to race switch back, or is it just like you're set for the series?
He went Zerg the next 2 games. And
wow. That's awesome.
Terror all-ended him twice in a row. He lost one and then won one. And it's like, hey, there you go. All right. But pretty legit. They got a lot of viewers this week. They also had another X-Pro, Aja 12, an old we-made Fox Pro that didn't really do anything, but obviously a good player. So yeah, it seems like the Have At You tournament doing very well, and the next one's going to be on June 10th, so definitely check that out. The last thing that we have here in This Week on StarCraft, nice usernames show incoming transmission. The new interview is up. It's with Rotterdam. You can check that on youtube.com/NiceYT channel. And next week will be Rapid, another guy casting Austin. So that show's really great. Everyone's really enjoying it, so definitely check that out. Okay, so there you have it, This Week in StarCraft. Of course, guys, submit stuff to us if you want us to talk about it, any of these cool weekly things going on or whatever. But I think it's time to just dive right in, start talking about WCS Austin. And I want to start for a moment, okay? Because, like, each year WCS has gotten a little bit better, but there's something about this year. This event in particular is giving me MLG feels. And I don't know if any of you all agree with this, where it feels really exciting compared to some of the WCS events we've had in the past. It feels like, because obviously it has a big open bracket, it feels like everyone's going, well, except me and Jake, who are in Korea right now, but everyone else. And, you know, it just, I don't know, it
has this feel of like, this is epic, this is awesome, this is going to be like a weekend festival of basically all the StarCraft players that aren't in Korea. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but we have a lot to talk about here, so please.
Yeah, I definitely get that feel too. Like I've been talking to some people and they're talking about like how they're road tripping across the U.S. with their buddies and stuff like that, and it's like you really don't hear about that shit. I know you know who I'm talking about. But like,
oh god.
But like you don't hear about that kind of thing because it's not really how people travel to tournaments. They fly there, they are flying different continents and stuff. But like when you have a U.S. based or Canadian based like WCS, I feel like all the Americas just like rally their trucks and cars and just drive across the country. So that's always, I feel like that's a lot of the MLG feel, is just like the trip to the MLG, like not even just like obviously the MLG itself, but like how people got there and how like bare bones basic it was. Like you could sleep in your car and play MLG and, you know, make it the cheapest possible. And that was always like the experience of doing an MLG, right?
It's like the indie feel where everyone's, it's exactly what you said, where 5 people are like, yeah, let's all just get a room together and, well, I don't know, like we'll play a best of 3 if we're the bet or something. We'll
get one hotel room, split it by 6 people, and you're coming in with all 6, and like you're not all going to that one hotel room, are you? And they're like, no, we're just visiting.
Oh
like,
yeah, they do that sometimes, man.
Yeah, man. No hotel wants like 7 pro gamers in one hotel room. Okay, they know exactly what's going to happen in that hotel room.
Sometimes they're really indignant too when you're trying to get other people in your room. They're like, that's a room for one person. I'm like, we're just going to my room to hang out. Like, they can't sleep there. It's like,
how are you gonna know?
What are you gonna do? I don't know. You're telling me I can't have another human in my room? I don't think so.
My favorite is when you ask them for like extra bed sheets and pillows, and they're like,
"You're not having another person here, are you?"
What do you need those extra bed sheets for? It's 100 degrees outside. I was like, I just feeling cold.
I like to sweat.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to wash them all. They're gonna be smelling just like me. There you go. But yeah, it's a 64-man open bracket, and this is actually something that we all were talking about a little bit, and I made everyone shut up because it's like there's a big waiting list, right? And you guys were saying there's actually some top end pros that are on the waiting list and not playing.
Yeah, there are a lot actually.
Players like Soul and Jake, you probably know the list.
Soul is, yeah. I mean, that guy is really good.
I've heard DNS is on the list.
DNS.
I've heard Stefano is like on the end of the waiting list, so almost no chance he's playing.
I heard Tesla was on the waiting list, who's also like a really good NA player, Protoss player. One of like 4.
Like a lot of really good pro gamers on the list though. Like and a lot of these players are flying out anyway, so they're just like, oh well, I guess I might as well have like a vacation or something and hope that people drop out. So like pretty big investment. This is also another reason why I didn't go. It's just like I'm not really fast about it. Like I'm not gonna play the political like I'm important, put me in the list game, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't go if I didn't know if I had a spot, you know? It's so risky.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys know how they actually manage those sign-up lists? Is it just first come, first serve?
Because they're first serve, I believe.
Okay.
Like first come, first serve, and then there's like a few waves of like you have to respond to this email or you're out kind of thing.
Yeah, I had to do that last night.
Yeah. With the Lambo and the Laser were talking about it, they're like, you know what's sick? They should just send a bunch of like spam emails, and if you don't check your spam folder, you're just out of the tournament. And they're like, that would be a great way to get rid of all the like potato players.
Idea I've ever
they're just
heard
like
in my life.
send them a bunch. Be like, hey, if you guys don't respond to this email, you're out. And then just send it to the fucking spam folders. But yeah, that's basically.
I don't check my spam. I guess I'm a potato.
I mean, they could just send like a StarCraft riddle, and if you don't know how to answer the StarCraft riddle, you clearly weren't qualified to play.
Yeah, but then every pro gamer would lose it, so.
This sounds to me like a surefire way for Feardragon to get a WCS championship. That sounds really weird though, right? It's first come, first serve for the 64 spots, and then you have to answer to emails or because that's one thing pro gamers are notoriously bad at, and I can definitely say that I am also notoriously bad at this. If you send me an email, there's a 70% chance I'll never even see it. It's just, I don't know. And I think everyone's just kind of bad at that. So it seems odd to me that, you know, there's a lot of very good players that are going to travel out there and might not play.
Yeah. I mean, most of the pro gamers didn't miss the emails, but they never got the opportunity because they signed up way too late. To be honest, they should have been quicker to sign up. Like that's this is your job, you should probably be signing up immediately. But I can understand the delay, the lag, because you don't necessarily expect the entire tournament to fill up with 25 people waiting. So like a lot of WCS events, actually, I've gone, and like I signed up last day, and they're like, we can't guarantee you'll be in it, but it's like 95% because like people will not come to this event, and you will get a spot. So like if they expected every WCS event to be similar to, like, for example, I don't know, I'm thinking Katowice, I did this, and I was like pretty low on the waiting list, and I got in. So like maybe if you're kind of expecting a standard show up for an event, you probably feel like you don't need to sign up immediately. But this event like blows it out of the water. If there's 25 people on the waiting list, that's where Stefano is right now. Like, who even knows how many more there are right now? But yeah, that's insane.
I've been wondering if that's part of the reason why they haven't released groups, though, is that they are maybe just gonna. I think so. There's like telling everyone to try and get them to sign up earlier in the future, but they're just kind of. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, maybe they try and get everyone to sign up earlier in the future. It's like, look, guys, we really can't guarantee you spots. But then at the very end of the day, they're like, okay, here are like the actual pros. We'll put them in and release the groups now, like 10 hours before.
My guess right now is the reason why they're not releasing the groups right now is because they're trying to convince lower level players like Diamond and below to give up their spots for pro gamers, like individually. Like,
really?
The thing is,
they will do that?
Yes, they actually are. Not only are the pro gamers trying to convince the other players to drop out, because I've heard
pro gamers are trying to convince other
pro
players?
Gamers are, but also the tournament organizers are.
The tournament, or you're trying to sell to me right now that the tournament organizers are telling people who signed up that
they aren't forcing people. They're just asking if anyone would like to give up their spot for someone who's a pro gamer.
Okay, that's
so like. I agree. Yeah, it would be completely fucked up because the other people are like, "Why don't we just remove the diamonds?" I'm like, "No. You could just be like, oh, you guys are flying across the country. Sorry, you can't play in our tournament. You ain't good enough. This is a good player-only tournament."
Yeah, like even putting any to put any pressure onto people to unsign up after they've signed up and gotten themselves excited and probably practiced to show their best play and have a good time.
I agree. It's fucked
Sounds
up.
to me to be like maybe the least ethical, stupidest thing that could ever happen. That's why I was like, wait, are you telling me this is what's happening?
Yeah, it is. But like, they aren't pressuring. I think it's more of just like, hey, Stefano can't play because he's a fucking he signed up last. Do you mind giving up your spot or like stuff like that? But like, I know pro gamers are doing it, but I don't know. Pretty sure the org is also doing it, like helping them. It kind of sucks. It's a shitty situation for everybody. But like,
is there no way to just make the tournament bigger?
That's what I said. Thank you, Artosis.
That gets like, so hard though, right? With the scheduling of everything. Like, okay, look, hold on. A WCS event, you're doing 3 group stages in the first day. That is a really, really long day. It is already something that sometimes goes past like midnight or 1 a.m. If you want to add even one additional round, like that gets really complicated.
Here's my point.
Make some
double limb instead
or something. I don't know.
Why don't they do
GSL groups, right? So that's a little bit harder, but
why don't they do instead of this a group stage 1 and 2 or double a limb bracket? Like the whole thing is a double a limb with an infinite amount more people.
I would like that.
Yeah, I think it's fine, right? Like if you do double a limb, I feel like
you say you would like that or wouldn't like that, Semper?
I would.
Yeah, I think most people would like that. Yeah, so group stage 1, group stage 2, double a limb bracket. You can add as many people on it as you want. Still the same amount of people qualify. You have to make sure the seating is really fucking good. You can't have like 2 of the best players get knocked out in the lower bracket. But like the thing is, you still have 2 chances. As long as the seating is good, it doesn't matter. Group's gonna be the exact same outcome. You can add on as many people as you want. Everyone still gets to play, unless they don't have the computers to support that. But I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Well,
and
I
then
feel like that's the only thing that could be a problem is not having enough computers.
They do not have enough computers for everyone to play immediately. Also, right? They have groups scheduled in waves.
Yeah.
Then just stagnate the bracket out a bit. But I feel like this is still better than adding more group stages or kicking pro gamers that can't play because there's not enough space. And then still do the group stage, and group stage 3 is still, you can do that still, I think.
If they do it far enough in advance, but they can't.
Obviously, they can't change it now.
They can't just be like today or something like, hey guys, we decided to change the format. Double elim bracket.
I mean, I think a lot of pro gamers would still prefer that over just being like, no, you can't play. Like, I'm pretty sure most
You're
people would
saying
prefer
they
it.
prefer to play over not play. Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, like, even some of the
Some of
for
those
example,
pros.
if I was in this tournament, let's say I have a spot here and I've comfortably signed up in advance, I would not be annoyed if they were like, hey, we're changing the group to accommodate all the other people that did not get to play. I wouldn't be like, well, fuck you guys. I wanted my easier bracket because I signed up first. Fuck you guys. That's not how I would be, right? I'd be like, oh, you know, I wish you would have given me a little more time, but I understand completely.
Yeah,
And I don't think
wouldn't
any of
be
the Diamond players would be like, well, fuck me, man. That was my chance. Stefano couldn't play. Like,
In the end, the group is like a double elim bracket in itself, right? Just a smaller one.
exactly.
You're just making a big one now instead of that.
Yeah, that's just my
yeah.
opinion. I think obviously infrastructure for computer was like that would have to be worked out, but I feel like that's the easiest way to fix this issue.
But I feel like it's only a problem for Austin, right? You don't really get this problem at any other event, just for this one specifically.
It's
right?
possible you might end up a similar situation with Montreal because it's also a North American based event that's East Coast, so it's very possible that you have a lot of signups for that as well. But I think Austin is probably the biggest for like new players too. Like I think Austin you see the most amateur signups out of any event. Like you do see some European amateurs go to the European Dream Hacks and stuff, but I think in general Austin definitely like you said you get the MLG field because there's a lot of new amateur signups, which is awesome by the way. Like even if you're diamond, platinum, gold, whatever it may be, this is one of those experiences you should do just to do because it's a fun thing to do. Yeah. Seeing all those pro gamers and playing against them. Even if you get smashed, who gives a fuck? Like going out there and having that experience is a really big deal.
At the end of the day, I mean, if you play, even if you go 0-2, you still help to knock out Stefano. So, this is kind of interesting and counterintuitive to me that we have this many people signing up in Austin, because don't we normally talk about how NA has less players than Europe? So why are more people?
Oof.
God!
You're
like, all right, what do you guys think about what I just said?
Okay, can I go? So, first of all, I need to address from top to bottom this falsehood that's been perpetuated throughout the scene. All right. First is that the top North American players can't compete with the top European players. First of all, that's just BS. Just gonna say you got Neeb, you got Scarlet, you got Masa on a good day, not Masa every day. You got a lot, decent number of true. I think that there are some really, really solid NA players that compete. But I think in mid-tier level, Europe has more players on average that are better than NA players because there's a big dip off for NA. But in the whole big scale, I think NA has way more players, way more semi-pros and random up-and-comers and stuff. I don't know why that is exactly, but I don't know if you guys will have...
The population of players in North America is higher than Europe, right?
It is?
The whole ladder population? Is it not?
Up? The MMR is lower, so doesn't that put the player number lower?
I don't necessarily agree with that. That just means there's less high-level players.
No, that doesn't make sense at all. That isn't how MMR...
Okay, well, Korea's MMR is a little bit lower, but still 7K. And they have way less players than Europe and North America, I'm pretty sure. So...
But...
I agree though that I think that it does. I don't know exactly the play. I can't say I know. I just feel in general, I feel North America's population should be higher or at least similar.
My thought is that it has it's specifically the number of semi-pros, not just diamonds or silver leagues or whatever leagues. I think it's a lot of people in high master or low GM that are looking to be more competitive, and it might just be because they feel the entry level is a little bit more reasonable, not only in terms of the skill level to try and be competitive and to beat someone like a Creature or an ex-Kawaiian or, some of the just kind of GM players that aren't necessarily top level player is lower, but also most of even the top NA, or besides maybe 5 NA players, everyone's in school or has a job. You're I'm not competing versus someone who's just playing 12 hours a day like me. I'm competing versus Semper, who's really freaking good at StarCraft, but he's also just pursuing a law degree with most of his time. Maybe I can actually do something. That's my theory.
Yeah.
I think another thing here is the United States is actually a really big country, 300 million people. So you do have a lot of amateur-ish players that are really good in the United States, and it's not necessarily the same thing in Europe where you have one gigantic country, and if you had some local LAN or some local WCS event there, you'd have an insane amount of signups as well, right? Like when you look at the list of signups in the Austin, I would say almost half of the entire signup is American, right? So in general, there's just a large population of people here. They may not all be the best pro gamers, but a lot of them are, at least semi-competent, like GM or higher, right? So there is a pretty sizable, like, average pro gamer level, like, or an average player level that's pretty high, relatively high, and it will push people to play in the tournament regardless of if they think they'll qualify or not, right? But I think in general, just the population of the US and like a lot of the culture was like, let's rally and go to this event across the country by car, whatever the fuck it is, whatever means it is to get there, let's do it, right? And that's part of the experience, like I was talking about before. And that's like the MLG culture, right?
Yeah.
From way back in the day. So that's my guess on why there's so many more signups in, Austin than just a random like Valencia or whatever it may be.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like it's a complex situation. Like, why there's so many
we're just
signups,
like,
I don't know.
I don't think anyone really.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
I mean, if
makes
if more than half the bracket is American, then I think that's why we have so many signups, because they're American.
Well,
That's about it.
I mean, that I think that if you go, I think that you're wrong here, and here's why, right? When we have WCS in, what is it next, Valencia?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you there'll be a higher percentage of open bracket signups that are European than there are American here. Okay?
You're a genius, Artosis. This is
Yeah.
why you cast the GSL.
I'm just saying. I'm throwing out questions. I'm trying to find the answers. Nobody knows. You can't explain this stuff. Okay, let's talk about the actual players that are in the tournament that we know are going to play, and start with the open bracket, not the qualified players. We'll get to them a little bit later. Of course, Semper, you're one of these players that is in the open bracket. What are you looking at here? And isn't it kind of weird that the group stage 1 isn't released yet? I thought for sure it would be released by today and we could go over it, but here we are.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and I don't think it's a big of a deal for me because I have WCS points. So group stage 1 is usually not going to be that hard. Maybe one other good player, and we play for a number 1 seed. So like I'd be more interested in knowing group stage 2, but that's obviously impossible.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. Just looking at the player list on Wikipedia, I see that there's a lot of Zerg in the open bracket, like way more than Terran and a lot more than Protoss.
So you're
So,
pretty
you know,
happy about that, right?
I am happy about that, yeah.
See?
Yeah. But I mean, the names are pretty scary. TLO, sort of, Snoot, Silky, Nurchill. Like, it could be hard. I'm not sure. It's not going to be a walk in the park unless I get super lucky.
Yeah, it is super stacked. Actually, before we go further, I do want to, because I keep getting confused about what the hell is going on with True, because I see his name here.
He
Okay.
can play.
So he wanted to originally play in WCS Challenger and also GSL, and there was like some confusion in the conversation with Psystorm on True's behalf and Blizzard about whether he was going to be allowed to do that or not, because of like this one rule that says you're not allowed to travel for more than like X number of weeks a year if you're playing in WCS and you're not a citizen, unless it's for esports events or something, because they didn't want to include, going to Valencia or whatever. True took that as also including GSL. Blizzard said it doesn't. So that's why True participated in that season of GSL, but was told he can't play in that season of Challenger, but he's going to be allowed to play in the open bracket because of the miscommunication.
I heard otherwise.
That's what
I heard that there's a rule that says you have to be in the country that you're playing for at least 30 days before the event, like whatever tournament it is, and he just wasn't there 30 days before Challenger. But when he returned, he was 30 days before the open bracket, so he could play in the open bracket.
Maybe that's the more detailed explanation, yeah.
But I don't know.
But he doesn't
either
have to
way,
be in Valencia for 30 days before that.
no, but he has to be, if he wants to play in
The
this
country of
NA
his
circuit,
residence.
then he has to be in North America for 30 days.
Okay.
But I don't know exactly how it works either. That's just what I heard. I think it makes sense. Like, I think it's a stupid rule considering I play in GSL and WCS, but I mean, it's a rule, I guess. So you just have to be able to follow it.
Trust me, the rules that have been set out by WCS have helped the non-Koreans substantially thus far. So I understand. But okay, let's go back to talking about this because I was just confused because I heard that, he couldn't play or something, and here he is. So good luck to him.
He's good.
This Zerg heavy bracket, are these... tell me some about these names, guys. Like Feardragon, I know that you know. Every time I see an American or European flag, I know that you know. So tell me.
Well, okay. Here's the thing about NA. There are maybe 4 good Protoss and 4 good Terran players in NA, and then there's just a lot of Zergs, and then there's the rest of the Protoss and Terran of NA. So this is just like par for the course for NA. NA has always been super Zerg heavy.
I mean, every foreigner region has too. Like Europe has insane amount of Zergs over Terran. Like I can think of like a couple. I can definitely put one hand of Terrans that I think are good in Europe. But if I want to do this with Zerg, I would not only would I trigger everyone if I tried to do this with Zerg, because everyone would be like, no, I belong on this list or whatever.
You don't even know, man. Lambo's easily top 5.
Basically, but yeah, I think I could fill one hand of Terrans if that's being generous, and I would never be able to fill 2 hands of Zergs from Europe. There are just so many good European Zergs and North American Zergs. I don't know what the deal is. Like, I don't know, like what happens.
Why is this actually? Because if you look at Korea, for instance, right, we have 4 to 6 really good Zergs in Korea, and there's more like. Right? Like that's what we have.
Yeah.
And then you look at these other regions and it's just chock full of Zergs at the top. So why is this?
I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think it's because of the idols we had early on, like being big Zerg people, and like especially like Idra and some of these other like trying to think of some other big names. Destiny. There are a lot of Zerg people back on early wings in the pro gaming scene that were I guess like influential enough to make you want to play that race. I'm trying to remember like Terrans.
I was a big MVP fan. That's why I played Terran.
MVP, but I mean like in Korea there were insane amount of like really good Terrans in Brood War that would push you to want to play that game or play Terran in StarCraft 2. So that would be my guess. Obviously, no one really knows. But I think that makes sense as to why.
That no one knows the answer.
I think that's why Korea has so many Terrans compared to other regions, because they just had more influential Terrans earlier on.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Semper.
But I was just gonna say, as a typical Terran, I have to say that it's because it's the hardest race to play. But go on.
Korea would disagree with you. Well, I don't think it's the hardest, but they would definitely be playing it the best. Anybody.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it originally was the case, but I think I kind of could see the reasoning behind what Jake was saying, and maybe something like that, like just some super old logic plays in, and then people don't really race switch, stuck that way. So maybe I don't even really want to put it as like, oh, it's a sign that Zerg is really strong right now. It's like, no, I think that just maybe at some point everyone was playing Zerg for whatever reason, and just people didn't race switch unless you're like Raze.
It's a sunken cost fallacy, man. You don't want to invest like 4 years of time into Zerg and then be like, well, fuck, I should have been playing Protoss.
How long has Scarlet been saying, oh yeah, guys, I'm really going to switch us this time, like if Blizzard doesn't change anything?
It's a sunken cost fallacy, man. You can't. That's all that wasted time. You're throwing it out the window if you switch races.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. Unless you're Neeb, I guess. It worked out for him.
It worked out well.
Yeah. I mean, he was really smart about it. Like, I think if you were to switch at any time, when he switched was like absolutely fucking brilliant. Like he switched when the beta was released for Heart of or Legacy, which is when the biggest change in the game ever happened, in my opinion. Like, they were doing crazy things with the game. Adepts came out, like whatever other units came out. Most importantly, Adepts, they killed everything. He got on the Adept train really early on, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Now would be a really bad time to switch, for example, because then you'd be out for at least the rest of the year, and then maybe next year you can get a good result.
If you ever switched, well, switching soonish would be okay. After the WCS events, my idea, if I was to switch, if this was me switching, I would switch after the most the latest WCS event that I will play in, let's say Montreal,
Yeah.
switch immediately, and then that'll give me some time to practice the mechanics of the new race right before the BlizzCon patch. The BlizzCon patch being usually the biggest shakeup of the game, which will give you the best chance of actually becoming competitive. Because if you're playing in the same level as everyone else and there's no change, it's nearly impossible to just switch races and break out to where you were before. For example, if you were trying to play Brood War and you're just like, all right, I'm going to switch races now, it would be really hard because the meta is so set and everyone else has been practicing for so much longer with their race. So that would be my opinion. But yeah, we can talk about the player list actually.
Yeah.
Direct this a
Sorry, I
bit.
like to derail things, please.
So for Zergs, I think the heavy hitters in this bracket, like they stand out pretty clearly. Like Cham is really good. I think Game Time is pretty good.
Game Time's not coming.
Okay, Game Time's not coming. Good.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's been really torn up between being a streamer and being competitive. Like I don't know if you guys have seen his stream. Like he streamed I think something like 72 days in a row now, and within the first 30 days he hit 400 subs. This is like his stream blew up like crazy. He's at 602 subs or something now, and I think he's
crazy.
seeing a lot more success there, and he's kind of just reevaluating like, do I want to be competitive or not? So
Thank you.
he's still deciding, I think. He's not coming for Awesome. He's deciding if he wants to be competitive.
Okay. Well, Game Time isn't coming. Let's
Next.
continue. For Zergs, Lambo, obviously he's been practicing here. He's really good, in my opinion. Really smart player.
Do you know what rank he is in Korea? Just
He's
curious.
told me like 6'3", but he leaves games every game, so I can't really tell if he's lower or higher.
What do you mean
Um,
he loses games every game?
You know, like if you leave your ladder game, after every ladder game you leave your he leaves league after every game. And if you do that, you're not being tracked on SC2 and Mass, but it's also really hard to figure out what your MMR is if you're just like
No
a
shit.
bystander.
So you're basically always playing like ranking matches?
Yeah, every game is your placement
But
match
it
because you
holds
leave
on to
league
your
after
MMR.
every
So
game.
Yeah.
It does hold your
Yeah.
MMR, so you don't play anyone different. It's just that it's really hard for SC2 and Mass to track you if you do that.
Wait, does it hold your MMR? I thought it's the same thing. You're just
does.
never in
It does.
GM.
It does hold your MMR, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Lambo, pretty good. Probably, I would expect him to get out of group stages. Nurchio, obviously, really good Zerg player. NXC winning Australian qualifier for something. Did he win qualifier for this?
Yeah, he's
Mhm.
qualified in group stage
Then
3
what-
right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, group stage 2. Okay.
Yeah, he's not going to
he's-
be in the open bracket.
Okay, well, he's signed up for the open bracket right now, but
Oh.
Really?
I mean, he's in this list. I don't know if that includes
Here,
group
maybe
stage
you
2
got the wrong
people.
list. I'll post it. And then
Pretty sure he's qualified because I.
Notable
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
players.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
It's smart. He's trying to keep Stefano. It's smart.
I'm curious to see NXZ because I always didn't. I'm not gonna. I hope you're not watching NXZ, but I didn't think you were that great. If you were like, you weren't someone who was like
Ouch.
exploding in my opinion, right? Like, but he just like slayed everybody in this qualifier besides I guess Scyther or Seether.
He took off for like 2 years or something, or like a year. He just disappeared. Like he was on Twitter, and I don't know if he was playing any StarCraft for a while. He just
He
went.
wasn't really. There was like a pretty big break period, but like even coming back, like it takes a really long time for players to pick up where they left off, and he looked like he had a really good tournament there. So I'm curious to see how if he keeps that up. Like it's really hard to tell if someone's gonna keep up their like abilities that they have in qualifiers, especially like. Well, this was an offline event, so that is actually a really good tell that he will do really good here, but it's really hard to tell.
I
So
think
I'm-
it's his second offline event. I think.
He did very good in his first offline event then.
Yeah.
Panda Baramy, generally a really good player. I haven't seen too much from him. Like he can be very unpredictable. Like he can be really good or kind of be just like not like a mid-tier competitive player.
Yeah,
So-
I played him in the ladder race recently, and he seems pretty good right now.
Okay, yeah.
He's against
You know what
that.
I'm talking about, right? Semper?
Yeah.
He's got like periods where he's 6'4",
Yeah.
6'5", like really good, and then there's periods where he's like 5'8", and you're just like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
3
yeah.
points. So I'm curious to see if you think he's good. He's probably gonna make it. Like he can make it into the open bracket or group stage 3 and further. So curious to see that.
I can see him getting group stage 3, but beyond that, maybe not. It depends on
Yeah, group stage 3 would be my prediction if I had to put money on it.
Yeah.
For Panda Bear Me?
Yeah. Like, he can make
Yeah.
it through, but group stage 3 is going to be really hard. Like, it'll be really,
It's
really
always
hard.
really hard.
I hope he makes it. I think he's getting really burnt out right now. Like, because he's been full-time in StarCraft for a really long time.
He's
And
been
NA
full-time.
players are not full-time in StarCraft, right? Like, that's not a common thing, especially with Panda Bear Me's results, to kind of be blunt. But, like, I know he's been feeling it, and now he's like, is this really paying off and stuff? So I think this might be like a big turning point event for him.
I mean, in general, it's something you try because you're not sure where it'll go, right? Like, you never sit down as a pro gamer and just know, well, if I invest a year of my time, I will be Neeb. Because everyone would be like, all right, I'm doing it. Like, I'm quitting my job. I'm quitting school. I'm going for it, right? Like, no one knows, especially me. Like, when I flew out to Korea not knowing, man. Like, it's a very hard thing to know. So you always kind of set aside this amount of time to test it, see where it goes. And then you're like, once I hit here, like, I have to decide if I want to be a pro gamer anymore. Because it's no longer feasible to just keep chasing this dream.
I feel like going full-time adds a lot of pressure on yourself, right? Because if you're part-time, you always have the excuse like I do. I lost, it's okay, I'm part-time. No big deal. But if you're full-time...
I think a lot of people would be very happy to be in your situation where you're going to school, you have a pretty decent future plan, but you're also just a really good StarCraft player as well. So obviously it's really hard to hit that level without being full-time at some point. I don't know if you have you ever been full-time?
Well, in the summer I have like a few months off, so I'm pretty much full-time, but then I have to take a break again and my skills go down and up, and it's really hard to keep up, to be honest.
But you've been really good for a really long time too. Like, there's a lot of random talent that is just really good at the game without playing much. Like,
yes, but I feel like I never reached the tier 1, like Neeb, Scarlet level. Like, I'm always like slightly below them, trying to chase up, and as soon as I almost get there, I have to take a break. And then...
Don't you feel bad about that? There's a lot of us in that boat. Okay.
I don't feel bad. Just.
So yeah, we were at Rex. Rex is actually coming to the Korean team house. He's been here before. He's around like 5'8" to 6K on Korea, which is like not bad. I wouldn't expect like a full qualified spot, but like he can make it to stage 3, I think. Another thing is unpredictability. As a Taiwanese player, like no one has practice like experience against him except for other Taiwanese players.
I would probably
he can be scary. Like he can sneak up on you for sure.
Yeah.
So definitely watch out for him. Cyril is in the open bracket. Is that?
No.
Okay. Cyril obviously
He's qualified.
Sort of Snoot, pretty scary. TLO, True, Day, and Zanster. Those are probably all the Zerg players you should be watching for, in my opinion.
That's a lot of.
What about Jon
It's
Snow?
a lot, yeah. It's a lot of Zerg players. Did I say not say Jon Snow? Okay, well, Jon Snow too. I'll throw him in there too.
You didn't say Bly either, did you?
Is Bly in the open bracket? Bly too. Okay, where am I? Am I missing a list? I'm looking at this list.
Are you on Wikipedia? That's where we are.
I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia, but I'm looking at the full list, not the.
Yeah.
Is as two big time like NA experts here, Feardragon, Semper. Do you look at anyone on that list that Jake didn't name because he kind of went through and name the guys that we really know? But are there people in here that are like sleepers that are like really quite good?
Future Semper, talk about future.
We're talking about Zerg.
Zerg only for now.
Zerg only. Okay.
Cool it, Ravi.
Yeah.
All right.
BioIce. He's pretty good actually. He's not bad. He couldn't make it to
I can talk a lot about BioIce because me and him are really old friends. Like 7 years, 8 years. We met in high school. We're like both StarCraft players at the time. I think BioIce has a lot of potential. He's also like a full-time student though. I think he has ups and downs, and he can be really good sometimes, like really scary and unpredictable. But it's hard to say that he would be a consistent like group stage 3 player, even though he did do relatively well at Montreal. So he isn't someone to completely sleep on. It just kind of depends on where he is personally on his own level, right? Yeah. He's kind of similar to Panda Bear Me, where he can either be in a really good spot or like he could just flat out die to some random person.
I feel like he's a very predictable player, someone that plays BioIce a lot. But if he plays someone he doesn't play against often, then maybe he can like surprise them. He likes to do some like aggressive builds. So,
Yeah, it does.
I could see him getting group stage 3, but beyond that, maybe not.
I think he's very confident in the way he plays. So he does kind of just do the same thing if that's what he wants to do. So
Yeah.
like he doesn't switch it up just to switch it up. He just plays his style and he tries to play it as good as he possibly can.
There's also Silky, the American Silky, not the Chinese one.
But yeah,
he's
he's been smashing the ladder right now.
He was rank
Okay,
1 for the
okay.
qualifier.
Catch on this. Silky got rank 1 NA by doing the smart thing, by just dodging every single good player and ranking up by getting 1 point and 2 point wins off of like 5.6k MMR people. So he just played a shit ton of games at the perfect time and dodged everybody.
Yeah, on the final day of the last ladder race, I woke up at like 10 a.m. Then I was looking at the matches played, and Silky had like 9 games played out of 15. I'm like, no, I gotta get on Ram. I gotta snipe him, get some points back, because I wanted to get rank 1 to be safe. And then I got on and I played him twice, but then he kept playing like people and gained like 5 MMR per match, while I was playing like True and every good
How does that even happen? Like he just waits for everyone to get into a game, and
you
then...
wake up early and then no one plays, so you only play like 5.5k players. You only get like 2 points, but you never lose. And then you play all your games and you're done.
Because I would always do this, but it wasn't a choice. It's because I played from Korea, the NA Challenger I was always scared shitless, man. You know how like it's the equivalent of being like almost at the summit of Mount Everest and then just falling off if you lose to one of those players. It takes one well-placed charge lot all in to completely destroy your Challenger dreams. You could have been spending 3 days practicing. You're finally doing it. You're 14 out of 15 games, and you get a random Protoss barcode, and you're like, I'm gonna do this build. Goes for the charge lot all in, kills you, minus 60, and you're out. You're just out. It's GG.
It's not without risk, you know. Props to him for doing it.
It's very scary, man. Okay, you do not want to be playing against those random 5.6 to 5.5 players because they will just do random shit and kill you.
Yeah, because if I lose to True, I only lose like 12 points. It's not a big deal. If I lose to
that's not bad. That's just like misstepping on the summit. But man, someone pushes you off the summit if you lose to one of those 5.5Ks.
That's true.
Okay. It's a very sad time.
So wait, I'm confused here. Is Silky good or is he a dodge?
Silky is good, but I just wanted to throw that in because they were talking about how he was rank 1 like NA. I'm like, oh, okay, well, the way he got that.
So Ravi's right. He's not rank 1. He's like rank 4 without dodging because
he is looking really good right now, and I think he's ironed out a lot of his quality issues. I was talking with him at BTSL, the base trade LAN in Vancouver, and he just honestly is looking like really solid. Looking like who did he play? Who did he play? Do you guys remember, or did you guys watch any of the BTSL games?
I think he lost to either Hero or
He lost to Hero, and it was an 0-3. But all of those games, or like most of those games, were sick close. He had really good games versus Hero. He got into like advantageous spots a couple of times as well. Like, so I was like really impressed.
Yeah, Silky's not to sleep on. He so far our entire list are people that could make it to group stage 3 in my opinion. So like that's a lot of Zergs. You know,
would it be an especially good day for Silky if he makes it into the bracket stage? Is this a possibility?
I would say that he'd have to be playing well. Like it's not to be expected for him to make it to the bracket. So I think group stage 3 is doable, even like with an average Silky. It just depends on like each group. Because if you get one of those like insane groups, obviously your luck is just shit, then it doesn't matter. Like you could be really good and it wouldn't matter. Because
he's good online, but we still have to see if he's good offline. Because I feel like he hasn't really gotten many results yet offline.
Yeah.
So we have to see that.
Though he has had many opportunities, but that makes it really unpredictable for sure.
That's true.
So yeah, he's definitely someone to be looking out for. I'm very curious to see how far he does or how good he does. I think that's probably it for Zergs, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of other races to cover
here. Well, not as long of lists, but Feardragon, I know that you want to talk about Future. What about this boy?
I want to talk about Future, but I want to hear Semper talk about Future because Semper is teammates with Future and plays games with him and all kinds of other stuff, right?
Yeah, you were observing us playing games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like randomly join off. I'll just see both of them in lobbies. I'm like, hey, can I come? Can I come watch?
Yeah, so me and Future keep worrying about TVT because we feel like nothing really makes sense right now in TVT. It's like completely random almost. It's like this build is good against that build, but it's bad against the other build. And this is the same for every build. So every build has weaknesses, strengths. And there's no, like, you can't just do one build and be good in TVT. You got to mix it up every game, I feel. So we've been practicing a lot. Actually, me, Future, and Epic were together last night trying to figure out TVT some more. And I think Future is getting really good. He was like 6.4K on NA.
Hold on, interject. The important thing also for Future is that he just turned 16. This is his first WCS event that he can play in. So he's amongst like Rainer, Clem, Future, and I think there's one more I'm forgetting who are just becoming eligible for WCS, but are also already sick good right now.
Yeah, and he would tell you that he does better in tournaments than on ladder, so he expects to do well. I think he can get to group stage 3.
I think one of the biggest worries, I mean, if he made it through group stage 3, he's doing way better than I expect. Like, I think he's really good, don't get me wrong. But one thing you have to put him in, he's 16. That's actually something that's really important for someone who's not played in many offline events. I don't know how many offline events, if any, he has played in.
He's been at a few Cheesadelphias.
It's just the Cheesadelphias.
How does he do at Cheesadelphia? Like,
he does okay.
Yeah.
Does he do group stage 3 into bracket well, or does he do like...
Okay, the thing about Future is that he's really good, but he's really inconsistent, like incredibly inconsistent.
Okay, that's what I was about to talk about.
Yeah, 100% go.
I think inconsistency comes with lack of experience, especially offline. This tournament can be insanely scary going into it, like never playing in a WCS event, right? Going into your first open bracket, it can be really nerve-wracking. It can be really hard to kind of like stay in your game and play well. So I think if it was an online event, I would give Future a lot more of a chance to make it through group stage 3. But I do think it's possible for him to make it to group stage 3 on an average run for his skill level. I think making it out would be really good for him. Like, I think that would be him playing really well. I'd love to see him do well, don't get me wrong. But
did you watch Challenger for Austin, actually? Like, he almost beat Jon Snow to get out of the group, but he kind of choked in the last game. Yeah, he choked a bit. So maybe the pressure might get to him.
Yeah, the pressure is a really big thing. Yeah, especially at a LAN event. Like I said, I would have given him a better chance online. So if he doesn't make it through Jon Snow being really good too, though. So
yeah, the way that Future, and even he describes himself, is that he has a really awesome mentality when it comes to playing and learning. And he's really gung-ho. He's one of those players that just is super gung-ho whenever he loses a game. He's like, no, we're gonna play like 5 more of those games. You're gonna play with me, and you're gonna keep doing that same build, and we're gonna do it until I get better. And he's really good at learning and getting better because of that, and that's why I think he shot up. But he is absolutely garbage when it comes to mentality with tournaments. He tilts so hard.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this comes from experience.
Yeah.
Like, I was a 16-year-old LAN player at some point too, and like, I speak from experience when I say it's really hard to get experience, like, in LAN setting without losing a lot. Like, you can be really good, but even Neeb, when Neeb was coming in and into tournaments, we felt like he was supposed to be a champion multiple times before he was. Just based off of, in my opinion, lack of experience on offline events. Like, his first championship was Kespa Cup, and he was really good. He was considered like one of the best players in the foreign scene completely out of everybody way earlier than that. And it just, like, experience offline is really important when you're there. Like, it's way underrated when you think like, oh, this player should just be this good to make it out. But you're actually fighting a lot more than just your skill level and your opponent's skill level. Like, you're fighting your own conditions, your own preferences, like what you prefer to play on and what your setup is normally looking like. Like, these are things you don't look at when you're just spectating a tournament. So yeah, I would say those are things Future has to overcome, and he just hasn't had time to do it yet. I'd love to see him do well, don't get me wrong. And I think he will do well given time. But I think this is one of these tournaments that will build him up to be a better player in the future. In the future.
Future, yeah.
Love to see how he does, though. I think he'll do well no matter what. Like, he'll show good games, even if he loses, I'm sure.
What about the other Terrans? You said you were also practicing with Epic.
Yeah, Epic's really good online, but he has weird problems when it comes to tournaments. He never seems to really do well. And he actually told me, like, I don't know what to fix. I just can't play well in tournaments. He seems to have like sort of a mental block, and I kind of hope he overcomes that because I think he's really good in practice.
Okay. Any of these other Terrans, how do you guys think that Semper will do? Clear top four, right?
Oh yeah.
Semper's my pick for making out like being I want to say like underdog star. I think Semper. So weird with him here. Because I was thinking about this stuff before I even knew Semper was going to be on. But like, I think Semper, I really think that he can make round of 16 because I know he's been working hard and he has been playing a lot more lately. God,
Yeah,
I feel like I should
true.
just let Semper talk about
himself. That's stupid. I would just say, well, I think I could win the GSL. I mean,
the problem with Semper is too humble, and he's just gonna be like, "Yeah, I'll be happy if I make group stage 2 or something."
I'll be happy if I win a game in group stage 1. To be honest,
I think Semper's been a staple of like North America for a really long time, and like I said before, I think the same thing that fights against Future is going with Semper. Semper has a lot of offline experience compared to a lot of these other players. And I think that this goes with his, like his ability to play the game really well with a lot of experience under his belt for offline events. I think he has a decent shot of making it through group stage 3. I would expect him to make it to group stage 3. That's like my, like safe prediction. I think he can make it out depending on his group. Like if his group's insane, I would definitely not be betting on him, but I think it's possible. Like, I would never count him out. I would never see a group and be like, well, Semper just can't do it. Like, it's not a thing. Like, I've played alongside him in Nation Wars, and he's taking games off of, like, Zest and whoever we throw him at, Neeb. Like, it doesn't matter who. We throw him at somebody. Like, we're like, okay, well, we'll burn one of our players before throwing out our ace, Scarlet. And he always takes a game or, shows a really insane game, really close game. It just depends on his own condition and how much he's been able to play lately. And I do think his experience will carry him, though, for sure. That's my opinion.
All right.
Yeah, I guess I want to play.
What about Optimus here? I think he's one of the 5 Terrans that you were talking about from Europe, Jake, but I haven't seen any real results out of him yet. It's like everyone talks about him being good. We know he's high on the ladder. He's well respected as far as skill levels go, even though he sometimes nukes his own army.
I think Optimus is focusing a lot on streaming, and that's not a bad thing, but it does make it a little bit hard for you to be a really good pro gamer, in my opinion. If you want to be a good streamer, it's hard to be a good pro gamer. Like, being a good streamer means you're dedicating time to talk to the community and talk to the chat and show entertaining games, which you can't do if you're trying to improve. Honestly, you can't sit there and deconstruct a really long game and mentally think about it and be entertaining at the same time. Like, how boring it is to watch someone go over one of the replays they just played, like a 20-minute long replay where they're just trying to figure out what happened. It really is boring, in my opinion. So, like, being a good pro gamer and being a good streamer is really hard to do. I think Optimus has found a pretty good balance where he's not too insane on either way right now. And I think he is really good. And I think if he's been practicing and preparing for this event, like he's one of those people I expect to be at group stage 3, and it's possible for him to make it out. I'd say he's probably like a little bit worse than Semper, but close. Like, that's where I would rate him in skill.
Okay.
He's been practicing for Nation Wars, right? The finals with the Netherlands. So I think he should be in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, I would expect to be in really good shape.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too many of his streams either lately, so it's possible that he hasn't been streaming as much and practicing more, which is what I think he needs to do if he wants to be a competitive pro gamer.
I really think the sense that I get, and this is mostly talking with like Euthermal and stuff, is like that I'm a little worried that if Optimus doesn't have a good result, or at least like a decent result here, that he's going to just kind of like feel burnt out, and he's just going to be like, all right, guys, I'm full-time Optimus streamer now. I give up.
I think honestly,
he gets really depressed about it, I think.
In my personal opinion, if he did that, that would not be a bad move for him. Like, in general, I think if I had to pick a route right now and I was somewhere around Optimus and I don't do a really good job at one of these events, I wouldn't be like the emo, like, okay, well, I guess I can't be a pro gamer anymore. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't do that. But I definitely would focus on the meantime in somewhere else, another aspect of the community that I can monetize, that I can grow. Like, who knows how big Optimus could be a 600, 700 sub stream eventually. if he isn't already. Like that's a lot of revenue. That's like
Yeah.
2K, 3K a month. 2K
I
a
mean,
month.
look at game time, right? He's
Yeah,
doing
like
really
if
good.
Game Time can do it, Optimus can do it. I think yeah, I would love to see him do either way, either or. Like he should go full try hard mode into content or full try hard mode into pro gaming. I think when you do a half and half, you are a good player. Don't get me wrong, but you're never like an insane monetizable streamer either because you don't put in enough time.
Tournament organizer,
Yeah, but
quasi house
I'm different.
owner,
I'm different. Don't worry about me.
commentator, pro player,
Hey,
content creator, makes documentaries guy.
not everyone can be amazing. Okay, I'm talking about human being. Okay, I'm above average. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I think if I did one thing, like I don't know if I could do it as well as doing every little thing I'm doing right now. Like if I was the best fucking player, I was the best team house manager ever. Do you guys think I would be hitting like, you know who's a great team house manager on Reddit? That NoRegreT guy. He's a great team house manager. Love to see his work. Like you just don't see it, right? And it doesn't take much to be a team house manager. So for me, I'm just doing a little bit of everything right now because I'm not sure what I want to do for my future yet. But when I do figure that out, which is probably what Optimus is doing, I will definitely slam it and do whatever I decide to the best of my abilities. And right now I'm leaning towards commentary and content creation. So,
Cool.
but I do think it is important for me if I'm a content creator and a commentator to actually play the game well still. Like I consider that my job as well. It's different than being a streamer, where I think streamers just need to be entertaining. Like that is the goal. You don't even have to be a good player. There are good streams where they're lower level players, but they're really entertaining. They have really nice quality streams. For example, Winter, and I wouldn't say Winter's a bad player, but he's not a pro player. And Sal or Up a Tree, like these are not pro gamer level streams, but they're so popular because they're so good. So, but I do think as a commentator, you should definitely be playing a lot of StarCraft. Like, it's hard to even just study games and know what's going on unless you've been playing this game for a really long time. So you just need to get in there and play the game a lot and get those like minimal mechanic understanding to figure out everything. So if I did go the commentator route, I would still be playing probably the same as I am now if I can.
So anyways, I really hope Optimus does well.
You derailed me by trying to explain my life.
Okay.
Up a tree's in here. I love you, buddy. You're beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
jumping over to the Protoss players in the open signups. Any names jump out at you guys? I mean, obviously Showtime is in there. And a big deal. I even saw you tweeted he's really prepared for this event, so I'm excited about that. But what about these other guys?
Harstem's really good.
Wait, I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
talk about Showtime for a sec.
Showtime.
I feel like Showtime is always the person who's supposed to be prepared and then either does insanely well or just loses in the round of 32 or round of 64 or whatever it is. Like I've seen him bomb out of a couple WCS events where you're like, how did this even happen? Like he's like 7K MMR. But I really hope he does well because I love him as a player. He's really, really good. Like he's so good. He deserves to be a champion in almost all of these events, right? Like he's easily a Neeb caliber. But I've just seen him bomb out of events like nothing for whatever reason.
Yeah, it feels like there's no in
it hits
between
him
for
so hard. Like when you look at his Twitter and he's like, he's not one of those whiner depressed people, but like I can feel it. If you're like 7K and you're losing to some random person in a round of 32, that's a hard hit, man. That's a hard blow. So I'd love to see him do really well. I think he can. I think he's certainly a champion. Like you could see him champion this tournament. So I would love to see him do so. Anyways, that's my opinion on Showtime.
Yeah, like you said, I think he either does really good or kind of really bad. No in between, kind of. Like you don't really see him getting to a round of 8, which is like decent. It's either like round of 4 final or like round of 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll do good though.
Yeah, I do too. I really hope he does because I think he's so good. He's so dedicated at being good too.
Like you guys mentioned, Harstem. I mean, he looked ridiculous at Nation Wars, right?
Yeah,
he
was
looks just
leading
insane right
innovation.
now. Yeah.
You're first.
God. Some of these memes will never go away. Who else in this list that's a little bit, less recognizable than those two titans of European Protoss?
I think
Cyan?
Cyan Cyan is like a pretty unpredictable. Cyan had a period of time when Legacy first came out where we were borderline thinking he would be like not only the best Chinese player, but like a contender for like best foreigner. There was a small period of time where he was like competing with Neeb and other people, and we weren't sure where he was going to go, if he was going to keep growing or kind of stagnate where he was. Like he came from nowhere. Just like no one knew of Cyan, and then all of a sudden everyone knew who Cyan was. Like it happened overnight. I think he's very good and he's capable of being a really good player. It just depends on how well he's doing currently right now. I played him on ladder a couple times. He's around 6'1", which is definitely not insane. That's around my MMR. So if that gives you any tell of how good he is, he's around the same MMR as me. So I wouldn't say he's like, I'd say he's probably maybe can make it to group stage 3, but I wouldn't say bracket play.
So you're saying he's GSL Code S level?
I would say he's Code S level when he's trying to be Code S Ravi. Okay. I think it's possible. He can do really well. Nice obviously is a relatively unknown player because he plays from Taiwan. A lot of these players are really unknown. They have like their own bubble of like.
His name has been popping up everywhere for a while now. Like if you look at some of the smaller tournaments, I always see Nice pop up.
I think he's definitely established himself as definitely a top 2 Taiwanese player, which usually means you're qualified for almost every WCS event if you're top 2. I think he can be really good. We saw him take games off a laser and actually almost won a series against the laser at one of the more recent WCS events.
He beat Kalazer at
He beat Kalazer. He's really good. He can be really good. He's like 6'3", 6'4" almost. That's similar to like sort of and other people at our house like around that level. He's a little bit better than me by MMR standards. That doesn't tell you everything, but it gives you an idea of like where he is. He's definitely a player to watch out for, though.
He has a tricky playstyle, right? He can mix and cheese. Not every game, not like Haas.
He's like a better Haas, right?
He's like a 2.0 Haas, exactly. He's like a Haas that can play just a normal.
Okay, you guys are sitting there talking trash, but Haas is actually qualified for Group 3 already. But
yeah.
So, I mean, back you nerds up. And check your cheese privilege.
I played a lot of games against Haas, like a lot of games.
Yeah,
like maybe 15, 20 games almost now, like in different show matches. I actually played him for my GSL Season 2 qualifier.
Those big show matches.
I played him in multiple pig show matches, yeah. And my personal opinion is if you're playing the series, like you're playing against Haas, you should never really lose.
I mean,
like, as long as you're a good player. As long as you're a good player, you're going in this series, you're like, I'm playing Haas. Let me just cool it, be ready for crazy shit. Look, scout as much as possible. I know he likes this like certain play style because you should know what Haas likes to some extent. And you should be fine. And I beat him in like 2 separate best of 7s and I just played like that. I knew he was going to do some crazy shit. I knew he was going to like his proxies, his cannon rushes, his mass oracle, whatever it may be, and like you just have to scout for it. So Haas is one of those players who can make it really far depending on whose opponent is. He can defeat really good players, like really good. He can beat almost anybody in my opinion.
Remember when he had Mario dead? Remember that? Yeah. Does anyone else remember that?
Like he can do that. That's not even that unpredictable. Like that, if you don't know you're playing against Haas, I guess Mario just didn't give a shit. He's like, I don't care. He's scary. So depending on who he gets in group stage 3, like he can make it out 100%, and he can make it into the bracket. And if he is a player who doesn't really play around their opponent, just someone who thinks they're mechanically really good and doesn't care, he can make it through that person too. Like it's not crazy to think like that.
I wouldn't want to play him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would do fine as long as you expect what he's trying to do. And if you don't expect what he's doing, you're dead, probably.
Yeah.
He seems like a grosser Taiwanese Myungshik to me, as someone. But
good point.
What about these other Protoss, like Raze, for instance? You guys said that he went from Terran to Protoss recently, right? Is he gonna neeb it up?
I think he went back to Terran. That's what he told
No,
the patch. No?
I talked to him. He played a couple of games as Terran on the ladder. He's just having fun. What I'm more concerned about is that he said he hasn't played StarCraft in 2 weeks. And he's also getting to Austin, and this is going back to like an hour and a half ago when Jake mentioned how people were road tripping into Austin. He, Tesla, and I think 1 or 2 had like Tugboat or something, are taking a 30-hour drive into Austin. I think they get there maybe like really late, probably 8 hours or 7 hours before their first day of matches. So, they're gonna do really well after that, I'm sure.
That's a lot of fun, though. That's an experience right there, no doubt. A road trip with your buddies to go play a StarCraft tournament. What a wonderful world we live in. What about like Peely? We haven't seen him around as much since that last year's Katowice where he had a big run.
He's straight up only playing Dota, and he's playing the past 2 weeks, exactly the past 2 weeks, because he said, maybe I can meme my way into group stage 3 and just steal some money from somebody. That is his only objective.
A noun, an adjective, a verb. How is meme means everything now? How did that happen?
He just means like awesome. Let's
He's just gonna pull out the stupidest shit and see if he can just confuse people enough to win games.
I understand the thought process behind what it means. It's just like I hear all the young kids are talking like this. NoRegreT I talk with NoRegreT all the time. He's like, "Oh, I just meme him. It's fine. He got memed." I'm like,
it's hard to explain to me.
what is this?
It means a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think my personal opinion on Peely is he hasn't put enough time into the game to understand the meta right now and understand everything that has to do with like how to play the game. And he doesn't know how to meme correctly. Is what I'm basically saying.
But isn't that what makes him scary? Is that he's gonna pull some stuff out from like 4 years ago, and it's not gonna make sense.
We saw Rogue try and do, or Dark try and do that. It doesn't work. Okay, there's a reason why no one does it anymore. There's a reason.
You just have to play safe against him. Take it to the late game. That's when his lack of mechanics
is
going to show.
If you know Peely hasn't played in a really long time, like you can just abuse the fact that like if you take him to the late game, I would never do this, but if you take him to the late game, you could win.
Yeah.
So
that's what I think.
In my opinion, I would kind of sleep on Peely if I was a player playing against him.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
Didn't Probe recently announce that he was going full-time pro gamer?
He's been full-time this whole year now because he's taking time off from school, and Australia has their summer in like most people winter, so their school year starts in January. So it's just like, I'm just not starting school. I'm going full-time. So
far, I think he's done really well. Like my opinion, like. He's taking games off of series off of good players. He always makes it to the WCS events, and he has a good team supporting him. Like Legacy, it's behind him all the way. So like I think this is an appropriate situation to be a pro gamer, like a full-time pro gamer, where you have this support, you have the possibility of growing as a player, and you can always just go back to school. Like there's no real rush, in my opinion, if you have like a actual setup, like to support yourself. I don't see why you wouldn't go be a pro gamer if that's what you want to be. So I'm really happy that he is there doing it, and he has a good team supporting him, because that's a lot of people don't have that.
How far can he get, do you think?
My personal opinion is I think he's a group stage 3 possible player. Like that would be, he's possibly group stage 3s. It's possibly making the bracket.
I feel like everyone is.
Like group stage 3 is like a reasonable.
That's a good accomplishment. That's legit as hell.
Like I'm giving people a lot of the benefit of the doubt on some people, but I think a lot of these people I am talking about, like they can all make it to group stage 3. Like I wouldn't be like, holy shit, man, this player made it to group stage 3. Like
I agree.
These are like predictable. Like I can't say everyone's gonna make it to the bracket. That's even harder. And group stage 2 is all about luck, in my opinion. Like you can get absolutely slammed in group stage 2 by someone who for whatever reason made it second seed. Like I think Snoop made it second seed when I played Montreal, and he was my second seed player. Like, the hell's going on there?
It's like some next level strats. You intentionally get out second in stage 1, just
so there is some luck into it. It's really hard to predict. It's just like I'm trying to give an example of where I think people are on their, when they're doing a good result, rather.
Okay, and I know Noni just had a kid, so I'm not gonna think that he's gonna do too well.
Wow, sleeping on Noni.
No, I would sleep on Noni too. Let's be real.
Well,
not to shit on him or anything, but like when you're having family,
but he's also got a kid now, so it's pretty busy with that. I don't know how much practice he's been getting. What about Mana? What type of shape is he in now?
I think
he's been practicing a lot.
So there's players that they'll because like you have like that really high point in your career, and then you kind of struggle, and you'll kind of have that downhill decline or something. And it's kind of the gradual, slow fading out. You're like, maybe you get a result here and there. It's like small little bumps. Mana's like the player that I feel like shoots up and down on like a basis with just like, wow, man is playing so far. Oh shit, no, he's dead. He just like has those moments so often where I'm like, as a Mana fan, he's like one of the hardest people to just have a constant heart rate cheering for, because you're like, wow, he is so good, but sometimes he's really not good. So I don't think anyone knows, including him, until he shows up.
I think my personal opinion is that Mana's always been a really good player. Like, not a champion, not necessarily a person who makes it out of the challenger, like top 4, but I think he's always been a really good player. Like, he's always been able to take games off of almost anyone he plays against. He's been around for so long. Like I said, he has the experience under his belt. And when he plays really well, when he plays, when Mana is just playing out of his mind, he can be someone who does really well at all of these events. So it just depends on how good he's playing lately. I know this is what I say for everyone, but this is honestly the truth for almost everyone, is how good you're playing your own game. And yeah, he has potential to make it through, and it would be really impressive. I would be very surprised if he could do that, but it's possible. I mean, he's been around for so long though, so.
Yeah, he's top 10 on the European ladder. He seems in good shape. He hasn't had too many results in tournaments lately, but I mean, this could be a good start to get that comeback. He is really good. I played him a bunch of times, and he's always pretty scary. I wouldn't say he's like, when I play Showtime, I can see the difference between Showtime and Mana. Like, there's some things like against Mana, I can get the drop in and do some damage. Against Showtime, there's like 5 Phoenix intercepting my medivac. I'm like, okay, this game's over. So yeah, well, I think he can do good. Like, maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Game knowledge and like sense of what stage of the game you are and like what your opponent's planning to do. Like Showtime, I feel, just has so many more games under his belt that he can just sense these things, almost like a sixth sense, like that there might be a medivac here, like there might be like this timing to hit, and he's just like a rock because of that. Like, that's what makes Showtime so scary. It's just being the rock. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Showtime is cheesable though. Like, you can see that in tournaments sometimes. I think Uthermal played mech against him and won.
I think if you plan,
Game Time took games off of here.
Oh, I see. There's a lot of people in chat talking about a laser. A laser, from what I understand, is playing in the tournament. He got a spot from somebody else. I don't know if that person gave it to him or what, but that's why he's not on the list right now. But he is there right now because of that. So yeah. A laser will be playing, as far as I know.
All right, let's jump up to the qualified players. And let's start with the Terrans. There's actually quite a few Terrans qualified for this event. Semper, when you look at this Terran list, who are the Terrans that you really respect as a Terran player?
Well, Special's really good. Uthermal. Time's a very good Chinese player. I played him at WESG recently, and he doesn't seem as good as he used to be, I think. I played him and he didn't seem that scary. Maybe he just had an off day. I don't know. Masa is Masa. He can do anything,
including proxy barracks.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of. Actually, the funny thing is, like 3 of the Terrans you just mentioned have stayed at our house in the past month, except for Time. Time was here a couple months ago. So Time, I feel like had a lot of potential earlier on, when he was a little bit younger. Like, he's still really young, don't get me wrong. But when he came to Korea, like the first time he stayed here for a couple months, he looked insane. Like, he was beating TY and all these other people in like best of 5s, and it was insane, like how good he looked. And I do think he has come down from that point of being like insane to more of like a standard, just good player that you could lose to, but not someone you expect to lose to. I think his TVT in general is going to be really scary. Like, if you were going to play him in a TVT, like, he plays TVT all day on ladder. So, like, he'd be someone to watch out for in TVT.
He plays very weird.
He's definitely come down from that higher point of what you were talking about before, where he had this insane skill level and he could have been going way up even still. I think he should come back to Korea, in my opinion, if he wants to continue growing. I don't think it's the difference, because he still plays on the Korean ladder. I think the difference is when you're sitting in a team house and you have no other thing but to play StarCraft, it's very different than staying at home. Like, you can do a lot more things at home, especially if you're Time. But yeah, that's my opinion on him.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's also Hero Marine and Kellizer, who are also very scary.
Hero Marine is super. He can be really good, right?
Super good,
Yeah.
Like Hero Marine is someone I think a lot of people sleep on. Where you're like, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like he's good, but no one expects him to be like possible champion caliber.
He has
Like-
insane mechanics. Like
Yeah,
really,
he
really good.
does. Like
He maxes out faster than anyone else that I watch.
I
Wasn't
was
he like the only guy to even take a map off Cyril and Challenger?
I
Yeah.
think so. He's
Yeah.
really good though. He's like someone you definitely do not sleep on. Like I feel like a less experienced player would certainly sleep on him a little bit. No one would think like, okay, well, Hero Marine's a no name, but people definitely don't think Hero Marine as like possible champion top 4 player. And I think it's possible. Like if he makes it there, like I wouldn't be mind blown.
I was super surprised because he did an interview with Wax Angel on Team Liquid, and like to quote him, I pulled up this like article. One of his things was saying, "Yeah, like I enjoy streaming a lot. I don't think I like the competition as much. ... Like I want to try streaming, and which I like do enjoy at the moment." And he's like, "I just want to stream more, and I don't really enjoy the competition." I'm like, "You're like one of the best Terran players in the entire foreign scene right now. What do you mean you just want to stream? Like this is like so. I'm so used to hearing like players that are kind of struggling to compete saying that they just want to stream more and like not really compete. And Hero Marine's sitting there like, yeah, I'm just having fun in my stream and like casually taking games off of Cyril when no one else can."
I mean that's the dream, right? Like if you're just streaming and enjoying what you're doing, and you can also take games off of Cyril, that's what you want to be doing, man. You do not want to be straining yourself every week, every day, 12 hours a day, straining yourself just to beat Cyril one game.
Yeah.
You know, like that is not what you want to be doing. I think it's good if he's found like a comfortable balance that he enjoys, because he can monetize his stream. He seems to be a good streamer, and he can do really well at tournaments as well. So he's been around forever, man. Like I remember when he was like 14 and everyone was like, he was all the rage, like way back. We're talking like 2011, like when he was like huge hype at being like, he was like our future or our Clem or whatever back then.
Rainer.
I was around his age back then, but like I was not a pro gamer. And I remember being super hyped for him.
Yeah.
The one kind of storyline for me last year, right, was the rise of Kelliger and Time. And you guys already talked about Time, how he's kind of maybe fallen down a little bit, but still very strong. What about Kelliger? What type of shape is he in? Because he seemed like he was just on this completely steady rise in skill. He had great results. He continued to do fantastically all over the place. Even, you know, in Korea was doing all right. Where's he at right now? Is he actually a contender for top 8 again?
Does anyone really know? Kelliger just disappeared after Leipzig, and even a little bit before. Like I know he was at the house with you, Jake, for a little bit, but I feel like after that he spent some time in China or something, and then he was at the Root House in California for a little bit.
I'm gonna tell you guys a story about the
You got
bane of
much?
most pro gamers' existence, and I don't know if this is common knowledge.
Oh no.
You might know. The bane of most pro gamers' existence is women. Okay, once you get a girlfriend, poof, man, you lose all interest in playing in StarCraft. So he did get a girlfriend relatively, maybe like 6 months ago. So my prediction is he's on the decline, but we haven't seen too much of him yet. So maybe he's got a good balance of girlfriend and StarCraft, but I don't know, man. It's hard to balance that, so we'll see.
I don't know where Kelliger practices, but I play him maybe like 2 times a year on ladder. And when I see Kelliger, I'm just like in shock. I'm like, oh my god.
There he is. Like
So I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure he only plays Korea. That's at least what my understanding is.
He's living in China, as far as I know. Like it's either China or Singapore or wherever. Like he's definitely in the Korean area, so he plays a lot on Korea. And he's good, don't get me wrong. He's like 6'3", 6'4", if not a little bit higher. But still, that's not insane. That's like, you know, that's like 200 MMR above me, which is not insane. It depends on how much he's been practicing. Like he might have a better time regimen where he can, you know, put in a lot of time before an event and then show up and smash people, which I hope, because I love Diego. He's fucking awesome. He's an awesome human being. I would love to see him do that. But it's hard. There is a team house in China that's kind of the same as us, but it's more for like Chinese players. I think he's staying there, if not after Austin, but he might be there before too. So I'd like to see how he does. But it's hard to predict right now.
Okay. You know, looking at the qualified players, like I could sit down and talk about each of these players a fair amount, I feel like, except for Expect. Who is Expect? this Taiwanese Terran?
That's a
Who
great
is-
question.
I actually just don't.
Nobody
I don't,
knows what to expect from him.
I played him once at the WCS event. I don't remember which one though. Maybe Montreal, I want to say. He was in my group, and I had no idea who he was. He seemed decent, like very standard play in TVT at least. So yeah, but I don't know much more.
I'm gonna be honest. Expect is not someone you expect too well. Like he
He
beat
did qualify though.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna tell you the story of this qualifier because I know all these players. I played them all in Korea. But always is like Haas, Beta Haas, or Alpha Haas. Like he is not refined yet. He is like a definitely a Haas in the making. He's cannon rushed me maybe 7 of 8 games we've played, and he'll do it back to back. Like I will kill his cannon rush, and then he'll cannon rush me again. But always. So I'm gonna continue with my story here. Relax, Semper. You'll get your chance. Okay.
No way. Who cannon rush do you expect?
1 second, Semper. I'm getting there.
I'm confused. Yeah, who are we talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm confused.
We're talking about but always first. So but always.
The name of the player is But Always. He's not saying But Always Cannon Rusher.
But always is a player. So But always beats Bystork, who's also like a relatively low level player. Makes it to the semifinals. Go Joey loses to expect 2-3. Go Joey's relatively okay. He's like 6K. But not insane. You can definitely beat him in a TVZ if you're around 5'8", 5'7", which is what expect Semper is.
Oh, okay.
So he slays Go Joey, and then he has to play a But always this cannon rusher like Beta Haas. And if you know he's a Beta Haas, you can defeat him. That's what I was saying before. So he 3-0s But always. My assumption is he knows exactly how he's going to cheese him, defeats him, and then goes to the finals where he loses 1-4. I'm surprised he took a game off of Haas, but you know, non-Beta Haas is going to smash you. So that's essentially how he made it through. And I think it was not a lucky bracket, but like a good bracket for him. And I wouldn't say that he's going to be like this player who just comes out of nowhere and smashes everybody. He's just like a relatively low MR player who made it through the group or through the bracket.
Good for him and good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him for sure. I mean, I'd love to see him make it through, but.
Okay.
All right, Semper, what were you talking about?
No, it makes sense now. The cannon rush, yeah. I was
We were
like, how
just
can a
like,
Terran player
we
cannon
asked you
rush?
about a Terran player and you start talking about cannon rushes against Zerg, and I'm like, that's literally everything but a Terran player. Okay. And any other thoughts on this group of Terran qualified players, guys?
Special? Mike, Special, I feel, has been around for so long and he practices so hard. He's one of the hardest practicing players here out of anybody. Like, by far, I would say, if I had to name anybody here, Scarlet would be last on the list and Special would be first in practice. Like, he plays so much and he has such a good relationship with all the Koreans here and shares replays, has practice games lined up. Like, he puts in so much work, and I believe he deserves to be a champion, and he's at the ability where he could be a champion. But I think one of his biggest downfalls is it seems like he's predictable. Like, I haven't played too many games where I'm the better player against Special. Like, he's just so mechanically good, he just smashes me. But I feel like the higher level players have figured him out, or like learn how to beat him. I don't know what it is. Like, if they cheese him or proxy him or whatever it is, it's just so sad to see him go out of every event like this, right? Where he gets taken out by some weird strategy or something. But I would love to see him be a champion. I hope he does. I think he's capable of doing it, and he's put in so much time that, you know, it'd be great for him.
Also, Uthermal. Well, can we go to Uthermal now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he's kind of the same level as Special. Like,
I would agree.
I don't know if I would say that Special is better or worse, but I know Uthermal has been practicing a lot, and he feels really good about Austin.
Mhm.
And I think he's going to do good. I've been practicing with him, and he's been kind of smashing me. So, yeah, I think he's really, really good right now.
Yeah, Uthermal also everyone spent time in Korea. Uthermal looked really sick when he was here. Like, he would take games off of pretty much anybody he played against. So, yeah, I would not sleep on Uthermal whatsoever. I think he's also another person who really deserves to be a champion. He puts in so much time, so much effort. I'd love to see him do it. He's really, really good.
Yeah. I feel like it's a matter of time for both of those guys. They're at that type of level. We just don't really get a lot of non-Korean Terran champions. Probably going back to what Semper said, that the race is so hard to play. Okay, let's jump over to Protoss. We already talked about Haas, of course, the cheesing god.
Can we talk about?
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
What do you want to
I just wanted to really quickly. I'm not even going to talk about his play or anything. Can we just talk about Drogo and his unfortunate circumstances? If you guys saw on Twitter, he realized. I don't know what exactly happened, if he woke up late or something, but he was super late for his flight, so he just rushed to the airport, realized that he didn't have his suitcase with him, and he was like, screw it, I just have to go. So he is in Austin, and all he has is a mouse and a keyboard. And now he has to go play for the next, like, he has to spend the next 6 days in Austin and feel comfortable and happy and play his game. So, you know,
honestly, my personal opinion, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I would do that, and I would just go and buy clothes, whatever, man. Spend $100, get a new wardrobe. Who the fuck cares? Get a new luggage thing. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. It could have been way worse. Could have left his passport. That would have been really bad.
You don't get on the airplane, right? Or you can leave your keyboard and mouse, and it's like, oh, you might not even. There's a possibility you don't get to play the right stuff.
And like, if you have to rebook your flight, pay like $600-700. That's a lot worse than buying a new wardrobe, in my opinion. Like, if you at least you're getting new clothes with that $700. That's
true.
So, in my opinion, he made the right call, and I would do that 9 times out of 10. And it wouldn't even be that big of a deal for me, honestly. Like, I would do what I said. I'd just go buy some clothes, and that would be it. I'd be comfortable.
Okay.
I actually was a little bit surprised that Drogo made it through Challenger for EU, because it was such a stacked bracket. I mean, I've always been a big fan of his Protoss versus Zerg, but felt he was a little bit less, lacking against Terran and stuff. But like, how do you guys think his form is right now for this tournament?
His games in Challenger, like, if I recall, he beat I remember he beat a laser in the playoffs, and he's always like a pretty aggressive player, I think. So I don't know. I think he looked pretty solid there. And to your point, he lost a few thermals, so Terran.
He took 2 games off of Impact at BTSL, by the way, which I thought was pretty impressive. I haven't got to see those games yet, but I bet they're good.
Yeah, Drogo 2-0'd Bly and 2-0'd.
Yeah, he had a group of 3 Zergs, I think.
Yeah.
So like, he only played PUZs to qualify, basically.
So he only played Bly twice, and lost to Bly once. No, wait. Sorry, I'm misreading it. Anyways, he beat Bly twice, so that's not incredible bracket. Like, clearly he's really good against cheeses, like beating Impact and Bly. He did take out a laser, but a laser was playing from Korea here, so 300 plus ping. Honestly, not that surprising. I would also say that this is probably an expected result, especially if you know he's playing from Korea, which he did. Like, you can abuse that. 300 ping is so much, man. Like, you don't even feel it until you actually try it. It's just so much ping.
It's unplayable.
Like, it's unplayable. So the fact that a laser made it to the round of 8 is pretty incredible. He came first in his group, actually, with 300 ping. So yeah, I think Drogo can do really well. Don't get me wrong. I think when he's playing well, obviously he's won DreamHacks before. So it depends on how he is. But
he's gonna hope for a Zerg heavy group, right?
Yeah, he seems to be really good against Zerg. Obviously playing from the Europe region.
Yeah.
And he should get a pretty heavy Zerg group because there's so many Zergs signed up. Yep. But I do think that his Challenger run isn't really like indicative of how good he is.
So you think he's overrated for his spot in the tournament so far?
I wouldn't say. I think he deserves to be round of 4, but I think it does take away from his accomplishment, the fact that he did play E-Laser with 300 ping. Like, it's not the same as if he had just beaten a laser in Europe. Like, then I wouldn't be saying the same thing. I wouldn't be giving him like any I'm trying to think of the word because I can't think of it. Conditions on his skill right now. You know what I mean? I'd just be like, okay, well, it's looking good. I'm giving a condition. I'm like, he's looking good, but you know this. And that but wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the ping. So it's possibly just smashed him too without ping, but the laser really, really good, man.
What about Puck? He's been in the team house some. Obviously, you guys know him from the NA circuit quite a bit. How's he doing right now?
Get him,
dropping Colossus.
Yeah, Semper. How is Puck?
Get him, Ravi. I'm waiting for Ravi's opinion.
Oh, I was pointing it to Semper because he lost. Semper lost 0-3 to Puck in Challenger.
Okay.
Yeah, he loves disruptors. He makes them earlier than anyone else against Terran, and he uses them better than anyone else. Like I practiced a lot for that match, like a week of only playing TVP customs. Like I played with Showtime like everyone, but then I realized like that practice isn't really useful because no one plays like Puck. So yeah, I mean he kind of just beat me 3-0, even though the games are kind of close, especially the last one. He had like a hidden base which lost me the game. But yeah, he plays different. I don't think he's very strong in the other matchups, but I could be wrong because disruptors are not that good, right? In PvP, he can make Phoenix, and PvZ, they're not great in dispatch because they just send a link forward. And, which is not that easy to do, by the way, with Marines. Like sometimes you do it, but then you miss, and the disruptor hits
like
like
TY.
20 Marines.
What? Did you even see that last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try every day.
Just play like Masa. It apparently works versus Neve almost. But yeah, Puck is so fun to be a fan of. He is crazy flashy. Like I think, in my opinion, he might be the flashiest player in all of NA in terms of just having crazy, awesome micro moments and that kind of stuff. But he also, I think, still struggles with that kind of consistency a lot of the time. He's like such a momentum-based player, and I think he's gotten better about it. Puck is, I think, one of my dark horses for this tournament. I think he's going to do really, really well. I don't even want to predict what level he'll get because he gets upset with me when I underpredict. But I actually think that Puck can make playoffs and maybe even make it a little further.
Wow. Would you agree with that assessment, NoRegreT, having him in your house for quite a bit?
I think Puck at his best, like when Puck is doing the best Puck he can, I think he could be a playoff player for sure. But I do think his mentality is a pretty big issue. Like he gets tilted insanely easily. And I think this is a very unforgiving place to be tilted easily. Like if it wasn't for his own emotions, I would say he could be playoff, but I can't imagine him getting there because of his emotions. Like you have to be so well composed and so ready to actually be there, you know what I mean? And I would love to see him do well, don't get me wrong. And I think he did do really relatively well here. Like he practiced a lot. He was here for like 4 or 3 months and he played a lot of games. He was probably like 2 or 3 out of everyone. If Specials won, he's like 2 or 3. So he played a lot of games. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see him do well, but I don't think he will make it that far.
Okay. Fair enough. Semper, I know that you have an early flight. Do you need to get going?
Yeah, I probably should. Yeah, sleep like 3 hours and then wake up and go.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Might as
Thank
well
you so
just
much
stay up now.
for
Just go
joining
for
us.
it.
That's always a bad idea.
That is always a bad idea. Don't ever listen to anyone who tells you to stay up all night for your flight. Even 3 hours is so preferable that. I've been on a lot of airplane flights, I promise.
Yeah.
But Semper, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, follow you, stuff like that?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm on Twitter at Semper_SC. And that's pretty much everything I use. I don't really use it. I don't stream much. Last time I streamed was last year, so you can't really find me there. If I do stream, I'll post it on Twitter, so just follow me, I guess.
You can catch him on the stream at twitch.tv/StarCraft when he makes the playoffs on day 2.
Damn.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
There you have it.
And if you see him at Austin, just go give him a hug. He loves hugs.
Well, good luck in WCS Austin, and remember your
Thank
suitcase.
you. Yeah, I'll try. Bye. Thanks, guys. Have fun with the rest of the show.
Love you, buddy.
Okay. He's finally gone. He's just gonna die right away, right? Okay, so where were we? We were talking about Puck. We just finished that up. That brings us, of course, to Neeb. You just announced that Neeb is going to the Korea House soon, right?
I did. Yep, he's coming.
So is Neeb good? Is Neeb a good StarCraft player? I don't know, guys. Tell me.
Neeb's a pretty good player, you could say.
Can we just make the conversation? Actually, Jake, go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, can we just make the conversation? Can Neeb beat Cyril, or does Cyril beat Neeb?
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
Okay, that's why I was like, okay.
There's a format.
I feel like
Yeah,
World War III could be said on these terms. Like, no, Neeb's better than Cyril. No, Cyril's better than Neeb. Like, this could be World War III.
Look,
Like, this is how much of a heated, debated topic this is right now. Okay. Like the
I
Europeans
can't
are like,
wait. Infinity
This-
Wars was not the most ambitious crossover. It's Cyril flying over the Atlantic.
Oh.
Okay.
if we had a camera here and like you could see the European versus NA like elitism battles here, like we would easily have like 3K viewers. I imagine. I do not doubt it at all. Like they just go on about like, no, this is why Neeb can beat Cyril, and then they're like, well, Cyril's done this. It's like, it looks great, guys.
Like Neeb and Cyril both, let's be honest, like they're okay interviews, but they're honestly not that great. I want to have like a laser repping Cyril and like Scarlet, maybe a little bit drunk Scarlet, so that she's like a little more talkative, repping Neeb, and they like Smix just interview them instead of like Cyril and Neeb, because those two love talking about respective players.
Stefano or Cyril, and now I have to think of a good. We definitely need Stefano as one of the interviewees. I'm trying to think of another person. It's definitely not Scarlet though. Okay.
Yeah. Scarlet's too shy.
But like a drunk Scarlet is pretty questionable on stream, in my opinion. Poof.
But
yeah.
all right. Hold on. We'll get into the Neeb Cyril in a moment here. We'll skip Neeb. We'll skip talking about Cyril. There's a few more Zerg players I do want to just touch upon real quick because they did qualify here. Breaking GG from China. I know this ID because he's in Olimo League every single week. This guy is like always playing. It's cool to see him qualify because China definitely does have a pretty strong scene right now. Any inside info about this guy?
I've played an insane amount of games against Breaking GG.
Yeah.
Like he plays so many games. Like after a game, I don't even need to go to Unmasked. If he's got like 600, 700 games, he's like 5'9". I know it's Breaking GG. Like
5'9".
I don't even need to look it up. I kid you not. Like I'll play this game. I'm like, all right, he's got about 300 games. Is it Breaking GG? I'm like 70, 80% is Breaking GG, and then I'll check on Unmasked, and it'll always be him.
Yeah.
So like, he has so many games, man. I can't overestimate I can't tell you how much. Like he has just so many games. I don't even.
You'll
know how
be
to
a
say
great
it.
commentator one day. I can really
Okay.
tell.
I'm trying to give my words out. Once I
see
figure
that.
that out, I will be a good commentator.
Yeah.
But yeah, he plays so much. I would love to see him do better. But he's not that great, honestly. Like he's around 6K, 5'8", which is amateurish at best, in my opinion, at least in Korea.
Okay.
That's like 300, 400 MMR below me as a staple for like mid-tier players. He can do well, I guess, if he's ready and if he plays well, but I would sleep on him if I was playing in this group.
All right, and we already talked about NXZ a little bit before, which brings us Scarlet. What type of shape is she in right now?
My opinion is she's not as good as she was when she was championing tournaments.
Okay.
Like she has this mentality where she doesn't think she needs to practice at all. And in my opinion, when she does practice, she's so much better than when she doesn't. I don't know if she realizes this or what. But her opinion is different than mine. And I think we see it when she practices. She just does so much better. She does practice pretty regularly. I don't know how much she's doing it in Canada. When she was here, like she would play maybe 3 hours a day on a good day, 2 hours a day, which is enough to keep your mechanics at a certain level, but not enough to grow, in my opinion. I think she's naturally really good. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm saying this because I don't think she can champion the tournament, but she can always make it into the bracket, in my opinion. And where she goes from there is just dependent on how well she's prepped for this tournament.
Okay. What do you think, Ravi?
So, I agree with a lot of what Jake said. I think that she's been playing a lot more lately because she's been streaming. Probably not because she's actually trying to practice. She's just practicing because she's streaming a lot when she's in Toronto and stuff, or whenever, somewhere in Canada. And like the weird thing is, like I talked to her about her Pyeongchang run and stuff, where she actually won the tournament most recently, and she was saying that like she was feeling really shit about her gameplay. This was like this time span for Pyeongchang was Leipzig, loses in group stage 3, kind of like honestly pretty disappointing performance for her. Travel 4 or 5 days later, wins Pyeongchang. It's like what? That's like Scarlet in a nutshell. So I really don't know what the consistent factor
Do you know what the
is.
difference was there?
She practiced during those 4 days.
No regret was at one of them. He wasn't at Leipzig.
So you're saying she had some easy wins over you?
No, I'm saying that she used my strategies and got them nerfed. I was the only person who got nerfed after that Overlord drop patch. I kid you not. Okay, I'm the only one who consistently Overlord dropped every game.
Well,
It feels
you
bad.
and
It feels
you
really
and
bad.
every Zerg at 5.2k MMR on Korea.
Well, 5.2k or a Pyeongchang champion. Which one? Hmm?
Yeah. Just
Are you
letting know.
seriously defending that you were the only player that mattered that got nerfed for the Overlord drop?
I was the only one who did it consistently, is what I'm saying. Like, you would do it on a... Honestly, I don't think
Okay.
Overlord drop was that scary. Like, so many people just defended it when they scouted it. It wasn't that big of a deal. I think at the lower level, maybe it was more of a big deal. But, like, the higher level players didn't, except for SOS. Forgot about SOS. I don't know. I think like the reasons behind the nerf. Okay, we're getting a little bit off topic here. I could talk a lot about this. I'm gonna stop myself right now. Just trust me. Trust me on this, okay?
So anyway, Scarlet.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think Scarlet, when she prepares well, which is another reason why I think she did really well at Pyeongchang, she did really well in GSL, because I'm not gonna take full credit, but like I did help her prepare, and like I think it helps a lot when you have someone else there to just not even like, even if we didn't prepare, if we just bounce ideas off each other, I think that helps a lot. And I think she'll agree to this. So I hope she does well, and I hope she can still do that. Even with me not being there, she can bounce ideas off of Bly or whoever else is there. But like, she needs to do this kind of thing to be a champion. I don't know if she knows that or not. It's actually what makes a huge difference in her play, is like, she's such a smart and intelligent player. Like, that's probably where she gets a lot of her skill from. It's not blind mechanics, though. She does have those too. She is really smart when it comes to strategies and decision making. So when she has another person to even like complement that even more, like, she can just be a champion. And that's my opinion on Scarlet.
Okay, so now we've kind of gone over everybody, and I want a list from you guys. Who can win the tournament? Who can actually be first place, win it, hold the trophy, get the BlizzCon spot? I'm not talking about people that you're like, well, this guy's really good, he might be able to go top 4. That's not what I'm talking about. Who can win straight up? Give
I'm
me
going
your
to take
list.
this one before anyone else. Sero.
Okay, do you think it is straight
It's a
up
list of
Zero's
one.
the only one that can win?
No. Okay, Cyril is my highest percentage person to win the tournament, I think. I think it's a pretty safe call, honestly. Like, this is like one of the most safe call you can make. He's just so good out of all the foreigners. Everyone's scared of him. Like, my second place, I think, honestly, like, it goes close, but I think a Laser is actually someone that a lot of people are sleeping on right now.
Yeah.
He's 6'8" in Korea right now. 6'8". That's the same as like SOS and some of these other players. Like, 6'8" is really high. I cannot stress how high that is. That's rank 4 or something like that on Korea right now.
Yeah.
So like,
Pretty crazy.
people are definitely going to be sleeping on him.
Well, he's actually in the GSL winners interviews. They have been mentioning him. They're like, oh, who do you practice with? And
Yes,
like a Laser.
that is true. He's been practicing really hard.
Really good.
He's also been in a bubble. So like, Europeans have no real idea how a Laser's going to play. This is another thing that people take for granted a lot, is when people don't play you on ladder all day, every day, they can't figure you out as easily as if you're playing in Korea in this bubble of like really good players that no one else knows about.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like just showing up out of nowhere and smashing everybody. So I do expect a Laser to do really well. He's actually one of the people I think can slay Cyril. Like, I wouldn't put a very big list of people that can slay Cyril, but a Laser's on that list, Euthermal's on that list, and Neeb is on that list. So like,
wait, is this a different list from who can win the tournament?
I think Cyril is likely, and all those other people are also possible. That's my list. Sorry.
Give me the list. Give me the list.
So Neeb first, Cyril first, Laser second, Neeb third, Euthermal fourth. I think that's maybe 5th special, depending on how he's doing. But that's probably my list of people that can win this tournament in order of like how likely they will win it.
Okay. Fair list. Okay, Ravi, what do you have to say about this list and your own list?
I'm not going to try and create an ordered list. I think that most of Jake's list makes sense. I would say obviously Cyril, Neeb. I think Euthermal is also definitely possible. Weirdly enough, I don't think it's a super likely one, but if it happens, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, nobody in the world ever predicted. But like, sometimes Snoot randomly just can come in and he's playing really, really well, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that he's actually still like a world. I forgot that he used to be like one of the best players in the entire foreign scene. So like I could see Snoot, but I don't know if it's super likely.
Okay.
And there was one more person. Oh, I actually do think that Scarlet has it in her to win. I don't know if it's likely, but I think that she does have it in her to win. And also, a lot of people will disagree with me on this one. I think True has it in him to win.
Ooh, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you. All right. All right. Woo!
I think if True wins this, like, you know, I owe you like a lot of money because there's no way True's gonna win this tournament. In my opinion.
I think
If True
this
wins
might be one of the
this-
craziest things you've ever said. NoRegreT.
I know this seems really crazy, but I think the thing is a lot of people figured True out by now. Like True plays a lot, and he's, in my opinion, one of the more predictable players in this tournament.
Okay.
And I don't see someone like maybe Cyril dying to some weird thing that True does, but like I don't see multiple people doing it. I don't see Neeb dying to it, Special dying to it, Scarlet dying to it, Cyril dying to it. Like these are the players you have to slay to get to the finals, the championship.
But here's the only catch that I would say: you don't have to slay all of them, and that's the thing about the bracket. If
So you're
True-
saying it's
True-
a lucky bracket?
I wouldn't say it's not like so much about lucky bracket as in like he dodges Cyril and all stuff. I think he hits the right people.
Yeah. It's like the thing is when I ask like who can win the tournament, no matter how many
I
times
guess
you
you
play
could
this
put
tournament
True in
out, Ziggy's not winning it, right? 1,000 million times with every bracket,
Ziggy wins
however
this
he
tournament.
wants. It's, I mean,
The curse
he's
is
a good
real.
player, but it's not going to happen, right? But with True, I'm like, oh no, that there can be the right run of opponents, and he could come out. He's not the most likely, I don't think, but he's actually a danger to everyone in this. I was kind of interested because I definitely agree with the laser assessment that you had, NoRegreT. That's just like a laser's the fact that all the top Korean Protosses that are going to the round of 8 by winning their groups that are groups of death are just saying like, yeah, I'm playing with a laser. Like I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, I mean, he's out here getting that type of practice. You know, the ZVZ in Korea is very strong as well, so his ZVZ is going to be sharp. Like, I could totally see him taking this tournament down. Of course, Neeb's up there. I'm interested because no one said Showtime or Hearthstone. You didn't say either of those, did you, Ravi?
I did not say Showtime. I love Hearthstone, and I think that he can make like a top 4 run.
Okay.
I don't know if I would see him winning. And Showtime was on my list, but like I don't know.
His game's
He's like on and off. He's
like,
on and off.
My-
His game, it's like Nation Wars is really good. Challenger was like he had like a really close call with like what's his name, Hellraiser and stuff, and I'm like I don't know. So Showtime's like I think he can, but like it's so borderline for me. I didn't
He's on
include
your
him.
list. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's on my list. He's on my
He's
list.
on your list. It's cool.
I think Showtime can do it, don't get me wrong. So I guess he's on my list, but I'd put him on almost at the bottom. And the only reason why I do that is because I think it's so hard to defeat people that are in your region that know you so well. And Showtime is one of these people that you know who you're playing against. And he plays so many games that he also is somewhat predictable. Like he's really good. He's a really solid player. But like when you can cut corners because you know he's not going to play this style or that style, you can rule these out. Like you can win. I don't see Cyril dropping consistent series against Showtime or anything like that. Like 9 times out of 10, I feel like Cyril should win those series. Showtime is also somewhat of a dark horse though. Like he can just be playing out of his mind and win the tournament. So I definitely do believe he should be on the list.
I just keep thinking back to that game everyone was going mad about in Nation Wars, the Neon Violet Square game against Cyril. I'm like, Cyril won that, but like Showtime should have. And I'm like, I mean, he can do it.
Yeah, he can do it. Yeah, I agree. But like in a series, it's even harder too.
Yeah, sure.
So
why are we not talking about Special a bit more? Is there a reason?
I think
yeah.
Like I said before, Special's really. I feel like people know how to beat him. Like he plays so much, he practices so hard, but he doesn't. He kind of seems like a bit of a cookie cutter, where he's got like these 3 or 4 builds that he rotates out. And I feel like a lot of pro gamers have kind of figured him out. I would love to. Like he is on my list for people that can champion, and I think he's a little bit higher up on the list than even someone like Showtime, just because he's also playing in this Korean bubble where it's hard to really know what he's going to do. And I think that's probably the biggest thing you need to have over Cyril is like your unpredictable playstyle. which is why I think a laser wins so many times against him.
Sure.
But yeah, it's hard to say. It's like Special has this track record of losing, deep in tournaments and not getting to the finals. And I think that's kind of the reason why we don't talk.
That
Huh?
was so much against Neeb during Neeb's reign of domination and stuff.
Yes.
Like, the thing is, with Special and TY having such a close relationship, GSL last night, TY is like the best player in the world right now. So I could see, that rubbing off on Special a little.
I agree. And he's also been here. TY was here for like a week before his GSL. And he played a lot with the laser, a lot with Hurricane and other people in the house. And he sat next to TY, or TY sat next to Special. So it's possible, and I'd love to see him do well. And like I said, he's been a consistent member of the house, and he's practiced almost more than everybody. So love to see him do it.
So at the end of the day, your first place, you said Cyril, Jake. Did you, Ravi? Your exact.
I
first place?
believe in a North American homeboy named Neeb.
Neeb is gonna win it.
Yeah, and Moss is gonna take second. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. that would be excellent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm feeling a laser a little bit, but I really do see a handful of guys that can take it down. Like, I think that we're not giving enough credit to Thermal and Special right now. I guess we'll see. This is going to be.
I agree. The only reason why I feel like we're not giving Thermal and Special that much is because they have this track record of losing, deep in the tournaments. Like Special, of course, is always never makes it. Like ever. He gets so far, he looks so solid, and then he gets to a deep round. I don't know if it's a pressure or what, but he chokes every time.
I don't know if it's choking. Come on,
Yeah.
he's just he's hitting people like me.
No, but I mean, I would say it's choking to some extent. He picks the wrong strategies and wrong situations and stuff like that.
Sometimes he does do that.
Doesn't necessarily throw the game by any means, but his decision making in the deeper stages of the tournament is questionable in my opinion. But other than that, I think he's a super solid player. And like I said, I would still rate him there if he's playing really well. So
yeah,
love to see him do it.
Okay. I think that about does it for WCS Austin, since we've been going on for nearly 2 hours about it. We do have a few other things to touch upon, but this is going to be a sick tournament. Definitely everyone make sure it starts in about a day and 16 hours or 17 hours, something like that.
Wait, Dan, you're not gonna take your picks? Who's your pick?
Yeah,
a laser. I think a laser's going to take down.
I actually really respect that opinion. That's an.
I know how good Cyril is, and I know that he's at the top of the ladder and stuff. A laser has been in Korea. He's at the top of the ladder over here. He's in this different bubble. He's playing against massively monstrous players, and the fact that the winners of the two hardest groups in the round of 16, the hardest ever, both just name him as the guy they're practicing with. This is not even hard for me. I'm like, yes, a laser's going to win. Yes, he's going to beat Cyril. He's going to beat Neeb and Cyril on the way. What do you want? He's going to take out both of them right in a row. Whatever. The laser's got Austin.
I think, with my predictions, Cyril and a laser are so close. I'd give Cyril this much of an edge on a laser. But man, I really hope he does it because he's looking so sick here. And he's also coming back after Valencia. So after Valencia, he's coming back. I would love to see him keep up what he's doing now because he could be a scary contender for BlizzCon. With the practice against these players, if he figures them out too, a lot of these Koreans going to BlizzCon are going to be scared as shit because they've been practicing with him for so long.
He's someone that actually could be our first non-Korean world champion. It could happen.
I agree. Yes.
We'll see.
Him and Cyril both, I think, are really good shots.
Yeah. Well, this has been a sick thing to go over all this. Guys, definitely check that out. It will be on Twitch all weekend. Excuse me. Feardragon will be casting that as well, of course. And, I'm going to be tuning in. That's going to be... Well, it's at a terrible time, so I'll be watching reruns in the morning more likely. But anyways, fantastic WCS Awesome coming up. Let's go ahead and jump over to GSL Code S. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We had a couple groups go through since last Pylon. I definitely want to talk just briefly about that and Deer winning his group because this felt very... I don't know. Did you guys watch that group at all? Huh?
I watched.
You did?
Watched
any opinions on that Deer Rogue Innovation Sue group?
my personal opinion is I felt Deer came really well prepared. Like, we kind of slept on him a little bit. Like we both, you and I said Rogue was getting out 100%.
Yeah.
And we both said, like, you do not want Rogue to be in the losers bracket because you will see Sue or Innovation or one of these players be eliminated. We saw that coming. But we didn't see Deer coming out first. I don't think we slept on Deer by any means because we actually did previews for this at the last Pylon show. But he came really well prepared. I felt like he brought out some really good strategies, really good decision making in his series. I felt like Sue kind of underperformed to what I expected. I didn't expect him to just kind of die at a Deer.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, obviously Rogue did too, but I felt like Rogue put up a way better fight than Sue did. Like, Sue did go 2-1, but the games that he lost were relatively, like, one-sided. A lot of really cool decision-making by Deer. Like, we saw him take that gas on, I don't know if this was against Rogue or against Sue, but, like, there's a good opinion of his decision-making where he builds a gas and then just goes for the charge all in, builds it under an Overlord that didn't exist, but I feel like this was against Rogue.
Yeah, it was. But
he did a lot of really smart, well-prepared strategies for every map, and you could clearly tell he practiced a lot for Zerg, which he did with a laser. And I think this was the good play for him. He didn't even have to play the Innovation, right? So it seemed like a really well-prepared group for him. As for the lower end, like, you have to feel really bad for all three of the players in the losers bracket. Like, Rogue, Innovation, Sue, like, fighting it out for the last place. So when we called it, we're like, you do not want to be in the losers bracket, and you definitely do not want to be in the losers bracket if Rogue is down there with you.
Yeah.
So I felt really bad for all of them. I'm like, well, there's going to be a lot of really sad pro gamers here today because Rogue is in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
So obviously Rogue 2-0 Innovation, I wouldn't say is unexpected. I'd maybe take a 2-1. I would expect a little bit more. Innovation 2-0 Sue afterwards is a little bit unexpected. I would not expect Sue to come out last in this group by any means. He's always a person who makes it to the finals of every GSL almost. So like I said, I do feel he underperformed a little bit. Maybe a little bit tilted off of, like, the whole situation that happened against Deer, and then being in the lower bracket with Rogue is really hard. So yeah, it was a really good group though. Like, a lot of 2-1s. The final, Rogue versus Innovation for the deciders was really sick. I called the 2-racks. I thought it would be so smart for Innovation to do this, and I'm wondering if Rogue knew that as well. Because I missed the beginning of that game, but I knew he was going to 2-racks. I just felt like it would be such a smart thing to do when you're up one game and you have the chance to just take out Rogue right here and there. I think it was a really smart play, even though he lost. I think that was like a good call 9 times out of 10, in my opinion. And that's my opinions on Group B.
All right.
What do you think, Ravi?
Any ads there, Feardragon? I don't know if you've seen Group B yet, but
yeah. So I didn't get to see all of the games, but I got to see Deer's games because I'm a Protoss player and I like watching Protoss players. But okay, I'm gonna like throw myself under the bus, and I'm super prepared for everyone to be like, Feardragon, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you even not casting WCS Austin? What was weird and kind of cool to me was that I felt like there were a lot of weird mistakes in Deer's play, but he still played super fucking well in other ways. Like, in the games, a lot of the time they felt, sloppy is the wrong word, because it implies that he's, like, making a lot of careless mistakes and stuff, but I felt like there were a lot of points in time where it was, like, things were not, like, there were a lot of things that weren't going well for him in some of those games, but he would still just make things happen for him. Like, he'd turn things back around. And that's what I thought was really cool about Deer's play, is that, like, because I know Gemini is in the chat, and he's been hyping up Deer for freaking forever. And, like, I thought it was interesting, because, like, Deer he was really impressive, but he wasn't, like, dominating impressive. He wasn't just stomping over nerds, including, like, awesome nerds like Rogue and Sue and stuff, but it was like, hey, he's, like, mortal, but he's really freaking good at what he does. And I like seeing more of that kind of stuff, honestly, than just pure domination. Because it's more interesting. It's like, this person's really good at this.
I definitely kind of agree with your assessment there. I think his play has been dirty. His play has looked the grossest out of everyone's, but he keeps winning. So cheers to him. It does. At the end of the day, it's about whether you won or lost the game. It's not about whether Artosis thinks that your play looked clean and crisp.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think that's one of the best things that you can have. If you feel like your play can be optimized really well, Like, if you know that you've made mistakes and that you can fix these, that's what makes you a truly scary player when you're already as good as Deer.
Yeah,
Like, imagine if you're this good and you just fix these little mistakes that you make. Like, if your stats or someone else, it's really hard to find flaws in your play. What is your flaw? I'm being too solid. Like, I need to take more. I need to cut more corners and stuff. Like, that is not the right way to fix your play, right? But when you just make actual mistakes and you can actually fix these, that's what makes you a GSL champion, in my opinion. Which, who knows? Like, we could see it.
There's a clear run for Deer to the finals, I think, if you look at his side of the bracket. But let's jump to Group C real quick. Happened last night, so no problem if you guys didn't get to catch it quite yet. But Classic and TY come out of what I consider to be the real group of death here, with Trap and Dark falling. And what really blew my mind was just how good Classic and TY looked. They just looked out of control. It was stupid. Just like we say Deer kind of looked dirty or something, it was the opposite for Classic and TY. They looked god tier. It was just stupid how good they looked. Did you guys watch those at all? I don't know.
I did.
No, I was on a plane.
Yeah, you were on a plane. Sorry about that. Sorry for the spoilers.
No, it's fine. I don't mind this. I already know what happened generally because I've seen all the Twitter comments about how everyone's just like, well, I guess everyone eats Protoss again. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're back to that mentality.
Always.
Yeah, I think a real story here for Dark, because I felt Dark was not someone we expected to win. I'm pretty sure when we did the Pylon show on this, I said Classic and TY would probably be our two deciders, like our two people we would cheer for, and you and I both agreed on this. I didn't feel Dark was going to go out 2-0 to Trap and Classic. Like, I thought it was possible, but like the games, in my opinion, weren't even like that close. Like, I remember watching Dark just like throw away his army over and over and over again, and like it can work. Like, don't get me wrong, but when you're doing it in multiple games in each series, like it in my opinion, it felt really desperate, and I just felt like he didn't really prepare that well. Like, obviously I can't make that call. That's what it felt like. So I'm really sad because Dark is one of my favorite Zerg players. If I had to say, Dark is probably my favorite Zerg out of everybody, because he usually comes up with these really cool strategies. He plays his own style. He does it really well, and we saw him try to do that, but he was doing that from behind every game, it felt. Like, when he was doing his muta switches, he was behind already, and he just couldn't come back. When he was building his Swarm hosts, he was already sacrificing his Roach army like multiple times before doing it. I felt like he just needed to do these things earlier and not from a huge deficit over and over again. So really sad to see Dark go out 0-4. Love him so much. Trap, I think it did as well as we expected. I did expect Dark to go out last, don't get me wrong. I just expected him to take games and have closer games. I think Trap did about as well as expected. And Classic versus TY, I felt over. Like, I still thought they were going to make it, but they played I felt like they were playing perfectly. Like, both of them. They played so well. They all their decisions were calculated, and it just seemed like a really sick group. I was enjoying it a lot. I don't understand TVP as well as my other matchups, so don't get me wrong. I can't tell for sure, but he seemed to be playing solidly, both of them. And I'm so glad they both made it out too.
They played crazily, man. This GSL is just insane. What a good year for StarCraft. Group D gonna. Oh, sorry, what?
It's crazy to think that Innovation, Sue, Trap, and Dark are all eliminated in the group stages of the tournament. Like, those players are not group stage losers, but we just knew it was coming. Like, because this is easily one of the highest skill level GSLs we've ever seen.
It's the highest. It's the highest. And if you look at Group D, right, which we have on Saturday, stats, Bjorn, SOS, Gumiho. So that's 3 GSL Code S championships, 3 runner-up GSLs, and 3 world championships in that group.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just to put that in perspective.
That's so good.
It's
and this is not even the group of death.
Like, no, it's the weakest. It's the worst group.
This is the 3rd or 4th worst group out of all of them.
It's going to be such a fun group, too.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Bjorn can turn up for this, because I feel like he's a clear underdog here. Like, I think he's one of the players who can come up and do something crazy, but like, I would be very impressed if he made it out of this group. Like, not only are you playing against Stats, your first group, Stats, the rock he is, and Bjorn, the player who likes to pull apart your opponent, you don't do that versus Stats usually. You just don't. So it'll be really hard for him, and I'd love to see him do it, but yeah. I'm excited to see this group.
This group just looks like so much fun because you have like Stats, who's like you said is just like a rock, and then you have Beyond, who's like the. And I'm not even talking about skill level or anything right now. I'm just talking about pure raw enjoyment of StarCraft. You have Beyond, who's like one of the flashiest players ever. You have SOS, who's just such a fun person to watch build order wise, and same thing for Gumiho. Like
Gumiho is
oh
really
God.
weird too. Gumiho's like a super dark horse. Like you'd be like, okay, Gumiho's coming out like last or third. But hell no, he could just take first. He could smash everybody here. Like that's another crazy thing about this group is it's nearly impossible to predict again. Like I have my percentage predictions, which I would never bet money on because Gumiho could just slay everybody. I'm very excited for this group, even though I don't play Protoss or Terran. It's definitely a group you do not want to miss, in my opinion. Like even if it goes the way we think it's going to go, these games are not going to be boring. Neither Gumiho or Bjorn are not going to pull out something really crazy that we've never seen before, in my opinion. At least one or two really weird strategies we've never seen, in my opinion. That if they're just planning for TVP, I would expect this, especially with the recent changes to TVP. Like I would definitely expect something prepared.
Yeah, it's sick. Group,
oh,
man.
Can we talk about Maru versus Rogue? By the way, oh my God, I'm so excited for that.
Match. That's fun.
A round of 8 matches, Maru versus Rogue. Holy shit, I'm so excited for that match. Maru versus Rogue and Classic versus second place of Group D. So it could be, SOS or Stats or Bjorn or whoever. Like, it's just insane. I'm so excited for the playoffs.
I'm most excited because 50% of the just play like Maru or just play like Rogue comments will probably halt because you can just say, well, no, Maru beat him or some Rogue beat him. So this will be done with 50% of those stupid comments.
I just wish this wasn't a best of 5, honestly. I wish Maru vs. Rogue was the best of 7.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
I just feel like 3 games is not enough to decide which player is better than the other, Like 3-2 or whatever it is. I just would love to see best of 7, but obviously we can't just change the rules because it's Maru vs. Rogue. If it was my tournament, I'd probably rally for it.
I feel like you should just give the championship whoever takes that anyway. This
is the first place match, and this is like 4th through 6 or whatever.
And you guys can finish a bracket if you want, but we're not going to have it at the studio. All right.
I wouldn't even be that angry if that was happened.
Hey, what can you do? Enough about GSL, guys. Make sure you tune into that crazy group on Saturday, 1 p.m. KST. It's about an hour from now, 3 days from now, 2 days from now. Yeah. Okay. Just real quick, gonna talk about ASL Finals. It did happen. Rain. You guys know Rain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course.
The defensive Protoss god from StarCraft 2. He went back to StarCraft 1 where he started, and he won the hardest tournament. What the hell? He's so good at RTS games. It's so crazy. So I mean that's big news.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to just be a legend forever because like I think we're going to have one other person ever do that, and it's going to be Sulky. It hasn't happened yet, but eventually, right? Sulky is like one of those guys. It's right up there near Rain in StarCraft 1. But yeah, there was some announcements at the end that there will be another season of ASL. Supposedly there's going to be an amateur league that will be started. I don't know if that'll have English commentary. I hope so, but I mean at least it's more StarCraft 1 going on. And a new ProLeague is actually being made on Afrika. It's all online, but it's really kind of cool because they're reassembling all the old Kespa teams, not under sponsorship or anything, but the players that were on the teams are going to re-team with each other to make a ProLeague, right? So, like, for instance, the SKT1 roster will be like Larva, Rain, Best, and Noble. It's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. I remember these guys playing together. And you look through, it's funny because some of these teams don't have that many players that are active now. Obviously, all these teams were years and years ago at this point. But like, I mean, look at STX Soul, right? You got like Mini, Shuttle, Last, and Hero on the same team, and then 3 backups. So pretty impressive stuff. But I think maybe one of the more interesting things that they're doing here, each team will take a women's StarCraft player. There's a lot of women on Afrika TV that stream playing StarCraft, and each team is going to have one, and that's going to be one of the matches, is the women's StarCraft player against the women's StarCraft player on the other team. All right.
Are they always matching the women's StarCraft player versus the women's StarCraft player?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There are no women in StarCraft 1 that can compete at the level of these guys.
I think we really want this to do well because I think this has a lot of room for growth and a lot of room to expand if it does really well. I can see this being implemented on an offline setting if it does really well online. So in general, like
cool.
if this stuff does well, like this is really good for StarCraft 1, and it actually could, pool over to StarCraft 2 as well. So all of this stuff we really want to succeed because it just helps both esports regardless of whether there's this Brood War SC2 divide. I don't actually believe that to be true. Like if a StarCraft 1 event does really well, like it's very possible we see a StarCraft 2 influenced event by, how exciting and how fun it is to watch from a Brood War perspective. So I hope that it does really well.
ProLeague was always a ton of fun to watch. I think everyone really enjoyed it while it was around in StarCraft 2. I think it's something that's definitely kind of missing, but the teams are kind of weird and sparse, and like a bunch of people have single sponsorships. And I mean, you look in Brood War right now, right? No one really has sponsorship. Everyone is a streamer now. That's a pro gamer. So they're just kind of, putting them together under their old teams. That's a fine way to do it, but I would definitely love to see that move forward. And again, not sure if this is going to have English commentary or not, but either way, you'd be able to watch the Korean stream. Hopefully, I'll try my best to get that done. Latosis wants to cast some more StarCraft. So yeah, that's about that for the ASL. To kind of go into the somber subject for a moment here. Of course, John Bain, Total Biscuit, did pass away. And everyone's kind of been talking about it. You can definitely check out. There's a big thing about giving away for his family at the GoFundMe. GoFundMe.com/Total Biscuit. They've already raised almost $250,000 for his family. So definitely check that out if you have some extra dollars. And I know a lot of streamers and community members are doing their best to push that forward. And it's a bigger loss than our words can do any justice to, I think. What can you say?
I agree. I think I was very sad to read the news and hear about this. Like I didn't know him very well, but he's always seemed to be like a genuinely good person. And like he would always push for the little guy, because I talked to him a bit about Shoutcraft, and he just wanted to have everyone who was here, like regardless of how good they were. I'm like, you sure you want the player manager to play? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, all right, thank you so much, like for the opportunity and everything. And he always seemed like a really good guy. And I was really happy to hear about the the GSTL trophy and like that whole thing. I just feel like that's such a good way of using that. Like it just embodies who he was and, his accomplishments as a team owner and org, and just to support the Korean scene and how well it did. So I was very happy to see that.
Yeah. He's a great guy and will be missed forever. Can't even really quantify it. I don't know. But all right. I think we'll jump into the questions, guys. Definitely go check that out. I can't even imagine. I have a family. If I died, fuck would happen. It's being the provider and all. It's too much. All right. From that very sad note, much love, TB. Rest in peace. Let's jump into the questions and wrap this show up. Priority Patreon questions. We'll go into there. Let me take a look real quick. Oh, this is actually a pretty good one that we can throw over to you, Feardragon. From Duolani. What are the do's and don'ts of meeting your favorite players and casters? It also asks, what are the best and worst incidents of fan interaction you have had? I'm not going to have anyone answer that one. I understand.
I'll answer worst one. I have a great story.
It's okay. Well, please go ahead.
Okay. So sorry, 1 second. Okay. So there's like a lot of the stuff that people will tell you not to do. Obviously, don't ask the player for their phone number. That doesn't work. I've tried it. They don't like giving it. I asked Neve for his phone number. Actually, no, I tried to give Neve my phone number once, and he said, "No, I don't need it." This was like a year or like 2 years ago. I had been like casting his events and stuff, and organizing and inviting him to like events and stuff, and he was like, "No, I don't want your phone number." I'm like, "Oh, okay." No, but like a lot of people always talk about the obvious ones, like don't go up to them right after they lose. That's a big obvious one. Don't bother them when they lose and all that stuff. I think most people are pretty chill though. Like, yeah, I know there are some people who have really, really strong opinions on a lot of this stuff, but Zombie Grub has really strong opinions. Like, no, like there's sometimes like an awkward period where someone will like say hi and they'll have like a really pleasant conversation. Like, okay, cool, thanks. But then it'll be like an hour, 2 hours later, they're like still following that person around. And like that gets a little weird sometimes, but that's like, yeah.
But I think at that point it's just like normal social behavior, which is not something you can really touch on, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, it gets complicated to talk about.
Just remember, these are people you don't really know. You might feel like you know them more than you actually do, because you watch their streams or YouTube or whatever it is. Or like for Artosis, you watch every GSL, so you feel like you know him like more than you do, and he doesn't know, or he shouldn't know you. If he does, he's genius. But I think in general, just like be friendly. That's cool. You introduce yourself. That's cool. But once the conversation peters off, don't try and like save it at all costs and make it awkward, because like those conversations that start petering off to nothing, and they get really awkward when you're trying to salvage it with just random things, and just have a good, genuine interaction with somebody, and I don't think anyone will ever regret that.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea, and you don't need to get nervous.
Yeah, they're just people.
Occasionally, where someone will come up to meet me, and like you said, they'd be like, "I've watched GSL since the beginning," and occasionally, it doesn't happen too often, but occasionally, someone will be really nervous about meeting me, and I feel bad because I'm like, I'm just like this guy, I played video games mildly well and like to talk about them. There's not that much special shit going on here. It's okay. Like, we both like StarCraft. I'm just the one talking about it, but don't be nervous. In general, everyone's really nice. It shouldn't be too bad.
99% of people are really
I was
awesome.
nervous casting with you.
Were you?
Yeah, the first time. But I mean, that was the first time
Did
casting.
It turn out okay?
I think it went really well, considering.
You go. See, you don't need to be nervous, little NoRegreT. It's okay.
Actually, can I tell my story really quickly?
Yeah, please.
All right, so worst fan interaction. I was the worst fan interaction on this. Okay. So we rewind back to MLG Anaheim 2011. This is my first event that I've ever been to for any pro level play whatsoever. So I go there. I have one friend who knows the faces of all these players. He's actually it's like Blitz Dota, for those who know him and follow him in Dota. I used to go to school with him. So he was just pointing out oh, that's Sasquatch. Oh, that's TLO. And I didn't know any of these people because it was just coming to the point in time where people were playing offline instead of just online for SC2. So says, oh, that's Chef. And I'm going around getting signatures and autographs from everybody on this giant poster board. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I go up, I walk a little bit of a distance, and I go up to this guy. I'm like, hey, Chef, right? Can I get your autograph? I'm a huge fan. I watch all this stuff. You're such a nice guy and everything. He's like, oh, I'm not Chef. I'm Vibe. But I can autograph it if you want. I'm like, oh, that's okay. You're also on my list of people that I like. And I'm like, that's such an awkward way to phrase things.
I love that.
And he was standing next to someone else. And I was so nervous that I said, can I get your autograph too? And it was I don't play StarCraft. I'm just here with Vibe. I'm like, oh, awesome. Turns out that I walked straight past Chef. Chef heard the whole interaction and was just standing behind, watching this go down and laughing his ass off. So just know you'll never be worse than that. So
no.
Don't get nervous.
That's pretty bad. A lot of people, and I appreciate that you share that, right? Because sometimes people do get nervous and stuff, and that's actually why I was saying I don't want to share anything about worse interactions or anything, because these are just nice people that maybe got nervous because they've actually just watched a lot of GSL and love the show, right? Or at least with me, that would be the situation. So I don't want to bring up these things that were mentally painful for them to go through, because they're fine people. It's just got nervous for a moment. So But people tend to ask that question a lot, so sorry guys, I'll never answer that. All right, next question. And I actually almost asked this while we were going over Austin, but I'm like, damn, we talked about Austin for like 2 hours. From Vestine, which map do you think will be vetoed the most in WCS Austin?
Redshift, 100%.
Ah, that's what I thought too. What do you think, Ravi?
Like, logic dictates to me Redshift, but I know enough players that have come up with stuff that they like to do on that map that I think we might see it as like a random pick a lot more than people expect. So I'm gonna be edgy and say Darkness Sanctuary.
Okay, I felt like that was the only other reasonable answer here was Darkness Sanctuary. All right.
I think the problem with that is there's too many vetoes for it to slip through because both players would have to have something prepared against that person's race on this map. I feel like Redshift should be the 100% clear veto favorite. It seems like it's so strong for Terran too, like so you just should never see it against Terran players in either matchup. There can be some possibility in PvZ, but I think it's just still very unlikely in general, unless you're like me or somebody with like a really weird gold-based strategy or something. Like, I don't know.
All right. Last question in the priority questions on Patreon. Of course, guys, if you want to ask priority questions, you'll always get them asked. Just go to the Patreon and you'll see what the reward is. Anyways, from Pariah, what do you think is a main cause of players falling off in skill over the years? Mindset, health, girlfriends, etc. Do you think any specific players deal with these issues particularly well?
My personal opinion here is dedication. Like, you have to love what you do, in my opinion. Like, you can only force yourself for so long. And if you truly don't enjoy StarCraft, like, you will fall off. It'll happen. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you don't enjoy the game you're playing, you can't put in the time to be the best. You can't put in the time to learn everything that you want to learn about the game.
And you should leave anyways. Why are you playing a game?
Well, I mean, a lot of people do, right? Yeah. Like, you don't see many people chug on when they don't like the game that much. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things as to why we see people fall off and not come back. And that's pretty normal. If you put in like this much amount of time into anything, you can definitely get burnt out. You can definitely stop enjoying it.
Neeb is a great example of that, right? Around BlizzCon. So I remember right like a few weeks or a month before BlizzCon, I saw him at Kings of the North, which was like after the last event, after Montreal, but before BlizzCon. He was like, yeah, I haven't been playing StarCraft because I'm just burnt out. I'm just not finding the game fun right now. And then you didn't really do super well at BlizzCon. And then he took kind of some time off from StarCraft, and he came back and he was like, oh, I really love StarCraft again. And he was playing well.
I think it's a little different for Neeb because the way he's burnt out is different than some other people where they just get sick of the way the game actually is played. He doesn't get sick of the way the game's actually played. He just gets sick of maybe like the stagnant map pool or the stagnant meta or whatever it is. But that stuff changes really quickly. Like, that stuff changes in a month. That changes in 2 months. Whatever it be. I remember he was playing Brood War around that time too, because him and Tasteless were playing Brood War when he was in Korea, and that might have been like a cool mix-up of like, you know, something new and something unique that might have pulled him away from StarCraft 2 a bit. But I think in general, it's lack of enjoyment of the game that will kill you. Even if you have a girlfriend and you enjoy the game, like if you enjoy the game, you're gonna be playing it all the time. You're not with your girlfriend or whatever it may be. So that's still enough to be as good as you are now, if not better, over time. So I think that's probably the thing that kills the most pro gamers.
Okay. The part of the question was, can you think of anyone that deals with the issues that degrade skill over long term well? Well, I think we aren't in complete agreement or don't exactly know what those issues always are. They might be different amongst people, but I want to throw out Snoot as the longest standing top foreigner by a great margin. He's been one of the best foreigners in the world for at least 4 years, right? Might even be 5 now.
Yeah, I would agree though.
And there was years where he was the only one able to take on Koreans. And the thing is, like Ravi said earlier, people are sleeping on him. Like, he's someone that can randomly just pop up and be like, oh, here I am at the top of the tournament. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Snoot, we take him for granted. He's always been here. It feels like he'll always be here. Anyways, okay. Great question. Thank you so much. Here, let me jump into a few other questions in the public chat. From Combat Wombat, we've seen Zergs have a lot of trouble in the GSL, but Serral seems to be doing amazingly. Can you give some insight into what could be the cause of this or for this? Are Korean Zergs not innovating? Are they being countered better? Like, what is the reasoning behind this?
In my personal opinion, I think the players abroad, like, or in Korea, are a little bit stronger. Like, I mean, I think this is kind of evident by just how many high-level Terran and Protoss players there are here. I don't want to say Zerg players are, like, their race is worse right now or anything like that, but I do feel like they aren't figuring out the meta as fast as they should right now. I think it's really hard to do. Like, right now, as a Zerg player myself, I feel very forced to play a specific playstyle, especially against Protoss or Terran, unless I just want to fall behind and die. And the way that I have to play right now is being countered by a different playstyle. For example, like, say I have to play Rushes because they're going to go Archon drop, and then all of a sudden they're going Mass Phoenix or whatever it may be, or like there's a lot of play like this right now that Zerg players aren't really able to figure out it right this minute. I think it will get figured out. I think someone like Rogue will figure it out before anyone else. And I think this is why Rogue is doing it and why he's so good. It's just because he does figure this out. He's mechanically so good that it doesn't even matter when a Protoss player pulls the hat off his head. Like, he can do that, and I think that's just what a lot of the Zerg players need to do in Korea. And I think it just takes time. We will see it, don't get me wrong. If the game does shift and there are some nerfs, which I wouldn't necessarily be for or against, I still think there should be more time before we do anything like that. But right now it's too early to really tell if there's a race imbalance or something like that.
All right. Jump into just one last question here from Katana Blade. Which was the greatest Brood War or StarCraft 2 rivalry between teams or players? And wonders if any foreigners would be included in this. From Brood War, you got to think of Boxer and Yellow and Flash and Jaedong, SK and KT. What do you guys think about StarCraft 2? What are some of your favorite rivalries that have ever occurred in the history?
TLEG. I think that's like the most obvious one,
actually. Yeah,
and just like even between TL and EG, there were like individual small rivalries that existed. Like Huck used to be on Liquid, and then he was on EG, and then Idra was on EG, and there was that. There was Hero versus Puma, which was also a TLEG thing. There were so many cool TLEG things.
Yeah, I think StarCraft 2 rivalries kind of died off. You know, like there used to be so many more rivalries. Like
I was talking to
you clearly have an issue with what I said, so let's
I agree with you. I agree with you, but
okay.
I was talking with you, Thermal, about this because I feel the exact same way, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been wondering if it's that the rivalries don't exist, or that I'm gonna throw myself under the bus on this one too.
Okay.
Casters don't highlight them very well these days, especially in like the foreign scene. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the rivalries exist, like player rivalries. Like, I mean, for example, in my opinion, Mario vs. Rogue is a proper rivalry right now. Like, I don't think it's like there's a road to like clear rivalry, but like these two are both like are trying to fight for the best player in the world, in my opinion. Like, it's very, very much a reasonable rivalry to have. There's just not a storyline behind it. It's just like they're both really good. That's their rivalry. But like the other rivalries are fueled by drama or by whatever it may be, like Idra versus Huck, the shit talk, and like that whole like it was halluc, blah 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 blah. Like those are things you don't make up, you don't prepare. Another thing is I feel like a lot of drama, a lot of rivalries are kind of forged and fake right now, but they're not like genuine rivalries like they used to be. Like no one was ever like, Huck, can you shit talk this player a little bit to start a rivalry? But I feel like this is where we're kind of pushing towards in WCS and other events where it's like, if you had anything to say to your player, what would you say? And like, you're going down, man. Like, that's not a proper rivalry anymore.
Do you think it's that those things aren't being said, or they just aren't being said publicly anymore? Because like I get very defensive about it. Like when sometimes I hear like people shitting on players that I think are really good, and I'll see those players like end up beating the people that were shit talking them or stuff like that. Like I think that stuff happens. It just doesn't happen as publicly anymore.
I mean, I agree. Like for example, I think one of the more recent rivalries I can think of that happened like that was Risky versus Puck. Like that was a pretty interesting thing.
Cool.
I do feel like that was a proper rivalry. Like Puck was actually like emotionally angry and stuff, and like that was actually kind of interesting because this is one of the first times I actually felt like this for a while for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Puck lost, which is unfortunate for him because he shit talked so much. But you know, that was a pretty good example of, you know, like a genuine rivalry. I kind of wish that we had more, because I think those always build a huge hype.
I don't think they always have to have shit talk though, right?
Well, I think that shit talk is what makes an exciting rivalry that people like. But I think that rivalries get decided really quick, and where it's like, oh, like you got bashed, it's over. You know what I mean? And there's not as much back and forth. Back in the old days, maybe it felt like there was more back and forth with it, but like, I mean, look at this. There's one-sided rivalries that exist. Look at Stats and Beyond. Like, you know, Stats picked Beyond for his group because he fucking wrecks him every time they play. And Dark did the same to Classic, but then Classic won, so maybe we have a real rivalry starting there, right? But it was completely one-sided before. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to imagine there are more rivalries in Korea than we understand on the surface level. Like, we don't understand everything the Koreans say to each other, and
For sure.
I imagine there are more rivalries, like actual genuine rivalries, especially with the fan bases like of these players. Like, some fans are so passionate about their players that I have to imagine there is some rivalries. Like, could you imagine if you're a huge fan of Mario or a huge fan of Rogue, there has to be like a massive rivalry where...
I guess, to be fair, there is a little rivalry like Neeb versus Cyril, who's the best.
Neeb versus Cyril is coming up.
Cyril. I actually think Neeb and Scarlet is like an interesting, like, friendly rivalry. Where they're they totally are super back and forth with games. I think that there are actually a bunch of the random small ones. Oh, that Showtime had a rivalry with someone. Like, they played like an absurd amount of games against each other in tournaments. I'm trying to think, like, there's other fun ones that pop up that I think get talked about a little bit. Like, there was a whole last year, Neeb versus TLO. TLO just keeps getting Neeb in every single fucking group, every single time. Well, that was like kind of a weird rivalry. The one-sided ones you were talking about. Yeah, I think they're there, but I feel like we don't. I feel like there's something missing. I really do believe that they're there, and for some reason they're not getting highlighted. I think part of it is like broadcasts, and I think part of it is the community. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the community.
I think the community just misses them. Like, they don't see them because they're not as flashy as the old days where it was like very public rivalry and it was like a very much like, I'm just openly dislike this person. Like, that's not the case anymore, really. Though I do wish some broadcasters would highlight it a bit more, but they can't really make it fake either. It can't be like you're trying to push the agenda. It just has to kind of happen. Like, you can't be a caster and just be like, no, this is clearly a rivalry or whatever. Like, I don't know how to push it properly without it seeming ingenuine yet. I might figure it out at some point, but I think it'd be hard to do it without it coming off ingenuine. It kind of has to do itself almost, where it just kind of has to be self-apparent, really apparent, and no one's really flashy in StarCraft 2 right now, which is kind of the thing I like about it so much. Is like everyone I think is they have a lot of respect for the other people they play against. In general, I think like as a general esport, there's a lot of respect thrown around to people you lose to and the people you beat even. And it's such a cool environment because everyone has respect for how far the other person's come because you've done that grind, and I mean, that's why I think this is one of the best esports in my opinion. Is the just sheer respect for each other. I kind of do wish there were some more rivalries, but like I'm fine with it just being respectful and there being player rivalries where it's your play is your rival, not your shit talk.
I just want Nurtio to drop the Red Bull sponsorship so that he'll become a shit talker again. That was the moment in his career. You can like look like shit talk levels for Nurtio, Red Bull sponsorship.
I think my personal opinion on Nurtio is he actually just became a better human over time. Like when I first met him, he was a little bit more hostile and a little bit more elitist towards me. He's like, oh, you're just shit, blah blah blah. And then like he became a bit more fun and a bit more, joking about it and less just like kind of want to being a dickhead, but more just being like, just being playful. And I really got that vibe off of him. And he turned from like one of the people I'm not sure if he like hates me or not to like, okay, I know I can joke with this guy a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I really, really do like his personality now. We don't see it as much as we used to, but I think he still will show this joking personality on stream more. It's just we don't see him that far into WCS events all the time now, like we used to. So I'd love to see him do it more. I don't think his personality is that bad though.
Yeah, I mean, bigger personalities would help, but everyone is so busy trying to be good at StarCraft. It's a difficult thing. I gotta cut it off there.
I thought for sure this time I would hit that 2-hour mark and stop, but we've been on for almost 3. So
Hey, this is the
We're
big
gonna-
show.
yeah, the big show. I
Yeah.
said this was
Yeah.
the big preview show.
Yeah.
I mean, before we close out, Semper's going to be on his airplane, man. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. Feardragon, what are you up to? What are you doing? Where can people find you? All that stuff.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of days I'm not doing too much. I'm just, hanging out. I'm probably going to stream on Monday or something. I don't know. I'm going to be casting WCS Austin. Tune in for it, guys. Get hype. And I think the biggest thing is, and I'm going to call the community, please talk about it, tweet about it, post in Team Liquid, make Reddit threads. I don't care where you do it. Tell your friends, because that's what gets things hype, right? You want more storylines, you want more excitement and stuff. People talking about shit and talking about the stuff that gets you excited. You don't have to build up artificial shit. There's enough to be excited about. Just go talk about it when you get excited. So yeah, that's going to be over on twitch.tv/StarCraft. And besides that, yeah, Feardragon64 on all social media.
Cool. And NoRegreT. How about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at OnFireNoRegret. And I want to talk about one thing I'm planning on doing next week around maybe June 9th. I'm planning to do a tournament where every player is, so far almost every player is a GSL champion level player of 8. There's 8 players. They're all anonymous to each other and us. And the time when a player gets defeated in the tournament, I will reveal them. So it should be really fun. We're going to do it on June 9th. It'll be on Scarlet Stream. Probably I'll have a more formal announcement on Reddit and stuff soon. But yeah, check that out. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it.
That sounds pretty awesome. I'll have to talk about that on the Pylon next week. As far as I go, guys, let me talk about a couple things we got going on here. First off, a big shout out to a guy named Alex at follow DIAXLS. He worked with Cobra and got us a website. We actually have a website now, and it's really good. Check it out, ThePylonShow.com. I can't believe that wasn't taken, but it's a nice looking site. It just kind of has the VODs and basically all the links, as well as a countdown to when we start the next episode. So it's a nice, simplistic, cool website. I really like websites that are like this. So thanks so much to you guys for doing that, and definitely check that out and make that your homepage, obviously. Yeah, definitely check out that Alex guy too, who helped us out. I also need to talk about our Matcherino sponsorship. So our Matcherino sponsorship, you can go there and check it out. We have a bunch of new t-shirts that have gone up. We also have that coupon code. If you just log in and type in Turtle Toss with capital T's and hit contribute, you'll give us $1 towards the Pylon Show, which is always very much appreciated. But there's some really cool shirts on there now at this point. We even got some Artosis shirts. You see that sick turtle? Yeah, that's my house crest, man, because all I do is turtle. You can also, if you're going to WCS Austin, you can buy the tickets there. You can gain money by following Twitter accounts and stuff. There's all sorts of stuff you can buy in there. It all helps out and supports the show.
Can I shout out the Soylent thing? Because I looked at that, and I've been looking and thinking about getting the Soylent stuff for a while. And then I saw that if you make a $30 purchase for Soylent on that Matcherino page, all $30 will go toward the pool, the prize pool.
That's true.
And that's freaking awesome. It's 100%. Like, that's the biggest bang for your buck. You're donating $30, and you're getting something for it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So if you like that Soylent stuff or you haven't tried it, those are 2 great reasons to buy it right through there. The last thing to mention is our Patreon account. You can just check out patreon.com/ThePylonShow. And there's some different tiers. Mostly it's like if you want to give some money each month for the show, we're having 4 to 5 shows a month. And, if you give up to like $5, then suddenly you can ask the premium questions in the Patreon, which we always end up answering. Do my very best to go through every single question in there. But yeah, check that out. And if you want to support it, great. If not, there's absolutely no problem in that. I grew up as a very poor gamer nerd. Just downloading, the podcast and rating it or like watching it on YouTube or here is fantastic. So yeah, that's about that. And of course, you can see big cheers and big thanks to all these people supporting. And that's that for the Pylon Show this week. Next week, of course, we will be back. I'm going to look to have In Control on as a guest, so we'll see about that. Thank you guys once again for joining, and Semper as well. And thanks everyone for watching.